What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rollin' and My 5.0 podcast featuring yours truly, the infamous project and the one and only KASL Customs. This week, we have a guest with us, Adam88 Yoti. Adam is the one who has that beautiful black T-Bird that's Coyote Swapped and has painted a number of fox bodies in the community, such as Caleb's Hatch and Brent from Hicks House Videos. He is going to go into details about some corporate switch in a little bit of a different way, a great opportunity that's come across him here recently, and there'll probably be a lot more fox body stuff coming from him here in the near future. So we'll talk about that T-Bird, we'll talk about his corporate switch, we'll talk about a whole bunch of random other stuff as we always do, so sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Okay, boys, we're doing it. Adam, pleasure, buddy. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah. Pleasure's mine, man.
Dude, it was so cool seeing that T-Bird in real life there at the show. And then in the couple, I mean, I know you've done however many hundreds of these silly shows, right? But like, it's so hard to even just get an opportunity to catch up with your buds, right? It's like,
Oh yeah.
fuck. You're just going in a million different directions at all times. And so anyway, we never got much of a chance to catch up while we were at the show, but here we are. We get to do it virtually.
Yeah, I the most catching up I got to do with Chris was right at the very end of pits. I seen him when he was putting stuff down. I'm like, oh hey, how's it going? And then that was about it. So
dude, okay, here is an absolute heartbreaker for me that happened at the end of the show. So I actually didn't even help Chris much pull everything down. It looks like he's frozen. Is he frozen on your end too? Oh, there he is.
He was. There he is.
Okay. Can you hear us, bud?
I think so. I don't know what's going on.
You were frozen a minute ago.
Yeah, no, and people were stuttering and all that stuff, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we're okay here. I don't know why.
Okay. The Starlinks are on
I might have to reboot
the other side of the world.
I might have to reboot the Elon Musk.
Right. Okay, so anyway, the story I was going to tell is this heartbreaker for me at the end of pits. So Chris had already tore everything down. My tent was like tagged and bagged and ready to get sent back to Canada. And then everybody's like firing up their cars. We're trying to get out of there. And this guy and gal come over, and they're, I would say, maybe a handful of years older than me or whatever. Robert was his name. I wish I could remember his wife's name. But anyway, they're like, oh my God, did we miss it? I'm like, miss what? You know? And they're like, we just got into town. Like they had just pulled in for the show or whatever. I'm like, oh no, like, you know, but anyway, they told a little bit more of the story. They couldn't get off work or whatever. And like, they just wanted to come out and shake everybody's hands and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like we're literally throwing shit in the back of trucks right now. Like we're done here, you know? I'm like, okay, they said, you know, maybe next year. I was like, oh my God. And they came from North Carolina too. Like they put some miles on to do this, right?
Damn.
Yeah. Brutal, you know? But yeah, how'd your travels go, buddy? I mean, you had a little bit of a haul home too.
Yeah, so about 10 hours. It should be less than that, but I was traveling with the wife and the kids. So extra potty breaks on, for the little ones, more or less, and the wife. Should be like a 8.5 hour drive, but towing and that, it adds. So, and we did have to drive through a little bit of weather, not like what you did towards the end of your trip, it looked like, but
right.
Leaving Tennessee, it was raining in the morning when we left. And then it kind of rained, it seemed like, all the way into Kentucky. Hell, almost to that Richmond, Kentucky Buc-ee's that I seen you at.
Right.
So, still kind of crappy there. And then it seemed like it was just following us the whole way, We stayed out of it enough. And then the funny thing is, the worst weather we hit was we got home. It was actually really nice in Michigan. And we were here for 2 hours and a tornado came through. about a mile down the road from my shop. Took
Really?
out a farmer's barn, took out a bunch of woods. We lost power. Come home to, we're here 2 hours, then no power. We had no power for the whole next day. No internet, no Wi-Fi, nothing.
Holy.
Damn.
Wow.
Home
Have you
sweet
guys,
home.
yeah, speaking of tornadoes, have you guys seen like that map of the states saying that there's twice as many tornadoes that have gone through this year versus last?
I didn't
So
see that, but it sounds about right from what I'm seeing, around.
Yeah, like I
yeah.
want to say like Mississippi, and there was another state. It was something like one of them's like 70 tornadoes this year alone.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's weird, man, because like the whole way down to Pitts, we were like, on the phone checking weather, whatever. It seemed like there was always something on the horizon. Like if it was nighttime, we could watch the whole sky, like a 270-degree view of just lightning, right? Or you were always driving towards what looked like it was trying to turn itself into a bit of a funnel. Like, fuck, what? Where are we going into, right? And then on the way home, well, shit, Chris, the night before, right? We were all looking at weather, going like, okay, who's got to go through this? Where should they cut over and go through it? Because that whole like Tornado Alley was just a wall of shit.
Man.
Yeah. I don't know, man. They got to stop messing with the weather. That's kind of my point. And then I get the letter from my insurance company, homeowners, right? That I can say 5 years ago was $1,600 for the year. It's up to 4,600 this year.
Oh.
Wow.
And then they threw in a clause like, we're only going to renew you unless we can increase your wind and hail damage to 2% deductible from 1.
Holy. Um, I think everybody's heard me talk about my days in the insurance racket, but this would have been the spiel that I would have given you
All right, let's
if,
hear it.
yeah, like, well, okay, don't put me on the spot, but I'm going to give you the generics version of it, right? So, funny enough, and not a lot of people know this, but the insurance company that you deal with, you walking in and out of their brick building or whatever, they also insure their risk to higher up insurers. So there's these like reinsurers. And this is where you like these names don't even register with people, the names of those outfits, but these guys carry smaller insurance company risks. It's this whole like downhill slide of shit, and everybody gets pinned all the way down, right? So what'll end up happening is, next year your insurance premiums go up and everybody goes, what's the deal? Like we had nothing but sun, there was no claims, there was no whatever. Well, it's because of this whole reinsurance thing. So the big guys on top, whether they like it or not, they've got risks in Japan, they got risks in Texas, wherever. Well, they maybe got smashed with a tsunami in Japan, right? And therefore, everybody, they try to make you feel like you're part of a community. We all got to work together and share the risks. Like, fuck you. Like, we were good here. Like, I don't give a shit about the rest of these guys, But that's kind of how this stuff happens. And then, God forbid, like you guys are in an actual like hot zone. I mean, then it's just even worse.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
it's funny too, right? Because I'm like, we got to shop this shit around. He's like, well, you got all these bells and whistles. And I do, man. Like, I got, like, if cash gets burned or blows away in the wind, like up to whatever amount, I got like car parts, like all of these things. So, rightfully so, the rear shed out back, which you've seen, right? Like that thing, all the shingles are pretty much off it now. Water's got in and whatever, done its thing. One panel blew off the back in one windy day. So I'm like, and a building like that isn't cheap to build, like with lumber and the way prices are. Like, maybe I should just put a claim on this thing, get a new fucking building. And so he asked me, he's like, well, how much? I'm like, well, according to all the bells and whistles, I got car parts and all this stuff in there that was used and all these things. And he's like, well, depending on how much it is, you don't want to, and then because like it's what's the risk versus reward of how much your premiums go up because now you filed a claim.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, well, you might not want to do it for that. Then I'm like, then what the hell's the point of all the bells and whistles? Like, if I'm going to lose everything and that's the only time that I'm going to be able to take advantage of this, what the fuck's the difference of $20,000-$50,000 in bells and whistles? It doesn't matter at that point. You know what I mean? And
No.
if that's the only time that you're going to do it in a total loss scenario, there's no point on having anything in between. At least that's the way that I'm seeing it. It's sort of like collision on auto.
Oh, we lost him
Oh,
again
man.
mid. Yeah. Oh, sorry, buddy. You cut off at the tail end. You said it's like having collision on auto, and then you froze.
Oh, yeah, on the auto insurance, right? Because it's like if I fuck up, then whatever, that's on me. Like I'll pay to cover. You just fix and deal with the other side. I'll take the risk and the gamble because all they're gonna do is, well, Adam, you do paint work. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like fender and a hood, you could probably bill out to insurance for $5,000. Meanwhile, I know I could paint a whole car for $5,000 if I needed to. You
Right.
know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's absolutely ridiculous.
This is one of the many things about insurance that drove me wild is it's like, as the consumer or the purchaser of it, you buy it much like you would buy a warranty on a vehicle or whatever, right? So it's like, hey, anything happens, I just want to make sure I'm covered. But insurance companies, on the other hand, they don't like insuring people that have issues. They only like insuring people that don't have issues because that's how they make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these little add-on bells and whistles, and they'll even throw stuff in their policies too, where it's like, oh yeah, like 50 grand for, I don't know, lost gummy bears. You know what I mean? Like just the silliest shit. And you're like, huh, cool. Okay, whatever. Right. Well, get into the fine print, right? Like that's where it gets real ugly. And it's just all these, I don't know, like fictitious bells and whistles that the fine print pretty much just cuts off your policy anyway. Like yeah, you're way, way better off. Actually, I shouldn't say that because I mean, we had those fires roar through here a couple of years ago, and like there's people that literally lost everything, right? And I think in their scenarios, like the natural disaster, nuclear bomb style scenario, it works pretty good. On all this little stuff, it's just, I don't know, a money making scheme.
Like think about it, right? Like maybe not homeowners insurance, but auto insurance for sure. And I think I spoke about it once upon a time too. Like I did the math on how many thousands I've spent on auto insurance over the years and, not had claims to like benefit from it one bit. You know what I mean? Like it's, I don't know, man. I think just knowing the way that the collision system works and all these things and how they invoice and same thing with healthcare and all these other things, it is honestly the biggest legal scam that's ever been allowed to operate in the earth. Like I can't comprehend it. And I'm saying like, cause I really understand now the whole health side of everything, right? Cause having gone through my health issues and stuff like that, like sometimes it's cheaper to be uninsured. You know what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense. It's like, yeah, I'll just give my insurance company the money back and you just give me the cash rate and we'll just settle this up. Like, anyways, I had to rant about
it's like
that
so many it's like so many things in life though, right? Like all of this stuff is great as long as there's like the utmost honesty being applied to them all, right? But it's when you gotta whatever, maybe I don't know, you're in a coma and the nurse clips your nails for you because you've been under for 6 months and the nail clipping was 15 grand. You're like, really? Like, come on, So you need honesty, and that's where all this stuff needs to start from. But yeah, it gets a little crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
But do you guys do like in and out collision, Adam? We got to talk about you. Enough of this nail clipping insurance bullshit.
Yeah. Actually, we are a full blown like collision shop, but we do a lot of restoration work too. Like I was actually working like since we had that storm that Sunday when we all got back from pits, we had 3 vehicles come in just this week that were scheduled that were storm damage. And again, dealing with insurance adjusters, and that's the thing that sucks too about it now. There's no actual, like, since COVID, the adjuster thing is almost like to the wayside. That every insurance company wants you to take pictures and download an app on your phone and send, like the damage, to an app, and then someone at a desk looks at it and says, "Oh yeah, that's a 2-hour dent," or "Oh, it needs a window," or or whatever it needs. Nobody actually physically looks at it. So yeah, the fender might be smashed. Well, they don't see that the headlight is broke underneath it because the fender got smashed into it. So of course, most of it is that way now. And then like today, we actually had an adjuster come in and look at a Suburban and an Explorer, and of course we had to tear it down so that they could physically look at it. And the Explorer got totaled, unfortunately. It was just a couple grand from pushing it over the edge. And the Suburban, the guy looked at it and he's like, "Oh yeah, now that I'm here," he added like a couple hours per panel, for some of the damage that was on it. And I mean, I know what they'll give. I know what it's going to actually take to do it. Like Chris was saying. I mean, I know kind of the ins and the outs a little bit there. So I'm content with what he gave us.
Yeah.
It works.
This is how AI, in my opinion, will never take over the world, right? Because that, like the example you give, is absolutely one of the best in that you don't know what's underlying all this stuff, right? Even though the AI just sees the outer, thing of it or whatever. And they're like, yeah, it's going to cost this much. It's like, well, really? But it doesn't, And the other actually thing that pisses me off about a lot of this stuff is prior to AI, or I don't know, maybe the overseer of the AI that's kind of like the backstop or the double checker of all this, that guy's probably never had a fucking sanding block in his hand his whole life, right?
That's
or
the big
gal.
one.
Yeah.
That's the big
And
one.
they're just like, oh shit, that'll buff out. It's like,
Well,
what?
It's almost as bad as when you get I don't want to age myself because I'm a little bit younger than some people, I'll just say, but it's funny when you get the older adjuster, and I'm talking like in his late 50s, maybe even early 60s. He's on the cusp of retirement, we'll just say. And he comes in and he says, "Well, I used to manage a shop back in 1987. Well, I hate to tell you this, but things are different from 1987, and the prices of materials and paint are nowhere near, what you were, accustomed to. So it's just kind of funny. Like tri-coat cars are a big one where they don't want to give you any time. And anytime you have to blend into an adjacent panel, because that's typically how insurance writes it up. Like they used to write it up like if there was damage on the door, you'd blend into the fender if the damage was close to the fender, because you were blending, that part of the car. I mean, you didn't need to blend the quarter because the damage was up at the front of the door. Well, now they don't give you blend. They give you they call it it's like a cut, buff, and a tint now. So it's like they don't, and then if they do a blend, they cut the refinish time like by a third. Like if it was 2.1 hours to refinish a fender, like they literally give you like 0.4. It's like, dude, I understand we can do it quick, but I mean, you got to give me more than half an hour to paint the fender,
Yeah.
So, but going back to your AI, I got a funny story for you today. So our secretary, she had to call auto owners, and we had this. I think it was a Buick got dropped off, and we had to contact them, and they didn't give us any of the information, like the adjuster or anything. And so our secretary, she's like, "Well, I'll just Google it. I'll look up auto owners claims department, whatever, because we have some of the stuff, but everyone is different." Well, she goes on Google, and she types in auto owners claim line. And that, how Google pulls the AI thing up at the top first now? It says AI and it gives you like the information. Well, it says auto owners claims adjustment department is this number. And it was like an 800 number. So she calls it. And she comes out of the office and she comes up to me and Larry, the other guy that I work with, who was actually my boss. but not for long.
We got to get into that story too.
Yeah. Well, she says, listen to this. She puts it on speaker. The number that the Google AI gave her was to a sex hotline.
Come on.
100% true. She's like, listen to this. It's like, hey, baby, are you looking for a good time? Or it's like, what the hell did you just call? I'm like, I can't believe that. I mean, look it up. It will pull that number up. No lie. And she's like, I didn't dial it wrong. I was like, are you
That's
kidding me?
amazing.
Yeah, I was blown away when I heard that today. I was like,
Oh,
damn.
dude, I can still hear some of the like late night infomercial
Oh, yeah.
for like dude,
Yeah.
call $24.99 a minute for a good
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
Oh my god,
It had the
hilarious.
snappy music in the background and everything when they were talking.
Chicka bam bam. Oh yeah.
Yep. I was like, oh man. So
Yeah, AI is, I mean, it's good at a lot of things. It's not good at everything. That's for sure.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, shit, man. Well, it's fresh in our minds. Okay, so what's going on at the shop these days? You kind of, whatever, alluded to this a little bit when we were down south.
Yeah, so I work for a shop. It's called Hunt's Body Shop. I've actually worked here for 16 years. So I've worked here for a while. I started working here when I was 19. So I'm 36 now. So almost 17 years actually. And I went to a trade school, and then when I moved back to Michigan from the trade school I went to, this is where I ended up working, and started working for my boss. His name is Larry Hunt, real nice guy. He's a
Does he
little
got
bit
a
younger than like, what's that?
does he got a brother named Mike? Please tell me he
No,
does.
no, no. Honestly, it's a very
Damn.
common last name, I know, but
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. Anyway,
But yeah, and I know where you're going there. So yeah, started working here, and I kind of was, I don't want to say I was like a grunt, but I was new, I was fresh, so I did a lot of like body work type stuff. And this particular shop has been family owned since 1928. So it's been around
really?
for a long time. Yeah. It's not like a dealership type business. It's more small niche, but anyway, um, he he's getting to that age now where he wants to think about retirement or figure out what he wants to do. He's in his late 50s. He's a little bit younger than my parents, but I kind of look up to him like a father figure. He's a really good dude. He's always been there for me whenever I needed anything. He doesn't have any kids that are interested in taking this business over, and I am honestly the only employee. So he kind of looks to me and he goes, I know you want to do something at some point, whether it be your own thing or, would you be interested in taking this over, or, what are you kind of thinking? And my thoughts were, originally, I didn't think I wanted to take this over, because I mean, this is being a collision shop and like a light restoration shop. Like, really don't do like Mustangs, even though you kind of look behind me and you can see Mustangs now. Well, I've always done the Mustang stuff since I was a little kid. I mean, my dad was been in the Mustangs as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
So, I started doing this kind of stuff, amongst like my dad's friends and whatever else. Well, then I was never an internet or a social media person. And like 10 years ago, my wife was like, you should make a Facebook to show off your work you do. And I'm like, that's kind of dumb. I mean, I didn't have one when I was in high school, even. Why would I have one now, And
Yeah.
so we did that. She made me a Facebook account and kind of did that. And then I started getting into social media stuff and then doing Mustangs. Well, then people are sending their Mustangs to me from out of state to like work
Right.
on. Well, now the shop's getting known for doing Mustangs, and it was never that, And so I always thought that I would start my own business up doing the Mustang thing, whatever it was, customizing stuff or restoration or even
Yeah.
just repair work, So I thought maybe I'd go that path and do my own thing. Well, with kind of the way the things were going and my boss wanting to retire, I'm like, well, hell, maybe I should just buy the business and I can
Totally.
just integrate my business into this business. And why not? It's already established.
Yeah.
So, and the nice thing about this business is it comes with a house. There's a house in front of the shop, which I sold my house a couple years ago, which I actually told you that when we were at Hard Rock. I had sold my
Right.
house thinking I would buy property and build something or whatever else. And honestly, I couldn't really find anything that really met the requirements or was in my price range. I mean, stuff is ridiculous expensive. I mean, I don't have to tell you, Gary. I know, I know you
Yeah.
know. So,
Yeah. Feel you, brother.
yeah. So, I mean, stuff is expensive, and honestly, this works out better to where I ended up just moving into the house up front. It's good enough for the wife and kids, and still within distance from their schools. And uh, in a couple months here, this will be all mine. So
No
we're almost
kidding.
done with everything. So,
Buddy, that's amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, thanks. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it's happening. So, and I'm content with it because I didn't. It's like I was talking with my boss. Well, soon to not be boss, but um, he was talking about how he's getting older and he wants to figure out what he wants to do. And I said, well, I just turned. I was 35 at the time. I just turned 36. I said, well, I'm 35. I mean, I'm not super old, but I don't want to wait till I'm 45 to do something. I was like, I wanted to try and do it now while I was still in my 30s, I guess, so I could, maybe I can plan for my retirement. I got 20 more years, 30 years to figure it out,
Totally.
So, I mean, it's kind of like you guys. I know you guys were talking about your corporate jump. It's not really a corporate jump, but I guess it's a jump into a business itself. So, I mean, I guess I don't know.
You're going from employee to employer, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I would say the same damn thing.
Yeah.
Once you got the skin in the game, right? Like your
Yeah.
mentality and your focus and all those things completely change. And then, of course, like you said, now you get to kind of integrate this whole what you were doing with what can pay the bills easily with day-to-day operations. You know what I mean? So you kind of have best of both worlds, and you've been around, the workings, and you've probably had lots of ideas and things that you want to try and incorporate that you were limited, where now, well, the only person you need to, I guess, you are the board. So it's like, oh, Adam, what do you think about this? Well, I think that, and there you go.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I like this. I do like this shop. And granted, I got into this shop right pretty much out of school, so I never really got to experience like a dealership setting or another type of collision center, I'll just say. But I always liked this place because being that we weren't like so we're not a commission shop, being obviously, family owned, small, real small time. So I never had like oh, you're the frame tech, oh, or you're just a body guy, or you're the painter. I do everything. I mean, I've pulled frames, I do body work, I do paint work, I mean, it's never been one thing. So I've always liked that I can kind of do everything, not saying that I'm the best at everything, but
I know what you mean, buddy. That's kind of the old school way, right? Like jack of all trades. And I'm gonna guess there's more than just you and Larry working there, right? So
no, there's not actually. So when I first started working here, there was 3 other guys. There was my boss and 2 other employees. One was actually my boss's brother-in-law, and then another good friend of his. And then I was working here as well. And what's that?
Mike?
No, not Mike.
I had to do it again. Fuck it.
I know.
Gary, you need to watch. I think I sent you a video of that M5 or E39 restorations guy when he went to go buy that Alpina in Germany, and the dealership is called Kuntz, spelt cunts with a Z. So to him in Germany, everyone just pronounce it Kuntz, like no big deal. So like he's halfway through this trip to Kuntz dealership, I'm roaring laughing, and then he finally clues in to, oh, wait a second, like the viewers not from Germany are gonna take this differently. It's Kuntz, guys. It's like Kuntz.
Oh shit. Sorry, buddy.
Sorry, I
Whatever.
had to get it in there because I know you were dying for some sort of acronym joke
Yeah.
reference to it.
That's
So
all good,
Okay.
guys.
all right.
So the brother-in-law, he was working
Yeah.
there.
So it was two other guys and myself. And then my boss's wife was actually the secretary at the time. So it was very small, family owned, with a couple outside family members running it. And throughout the years, like the brother-in-law, his name was actually Rick.
Okay.
Super nice guy as well. His name was not Hunt though. It was Rick Hogue. So so sorry, there's no joke there. But he was a super cool dude. He was more of like an old timer. So like he was one of those types that knew how to lead and all that kind of thing. So it was
Cool.
really cool learning, like I learned things from him that I would not have learned in school, or even more so my boss, now, because he didn't do those types of things. And then that Rick was also a really good frame tech. So he knew how to pull vehicles really well. So that was, something that I was fortunate enough to learn working with him. He worked here for quite a few years, and then he actually ended up getting COPD, being an old timer that he was. He was one of those body guys that you always seen with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Oh, yeah.
He was painting with the cigarette in his mouth, the real old school dude. And he ended up getting that COPD, and he ended up passing away, I think 3 or 4 years ago. So,
Okay.
but he hadn't worked with us for probably 8 years, I'd say. And then
Right.
the other couple, then throughout the years, a couple other guys kind of came in and, didn't really jive or work, and then they kind of left, and so the last probably, I'd say 4 years since pretty much the COVID time, it's just been me and my boss.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. And I
So,
mean,
but he
are
pays
you
me
guys
pretty well, so I don't need to leave.
right?
So
Now, are you guys finding like are you running yourselves ragged to just be a two-man band, or how could you add?
there's been times. I mean,
Right.
there's times where it feels like you're working easily a 12-hour day. I won't lie.
Yeah.
I feel like I work a little bit more just because I have so much side work that then, you know, comes
Right.
after work and the weekends. So yeah, we
Yeah.
schedule accordingly, I'll say, per week, so that we can do what we need to every week, plus still do a couple restorations that are in here. Like you can't actually see, but to this side, there's a 73 Cutlass in the corner that I'm doing a bunch of work on, a bunch of floor pan work. It was actually a car that's been sitting since 1988. And it got towed in, and I got it running, put on the fuel lines, new brake lines, all new brakes on the rear, brakes on the front, new gas tank, rebuilt the carb, distributor points, wires, all the things that, all the things you see the YouTubers do that resurrect a vehicle and drive it 100,000 miles, all those things. And then I was doing floor pan work on it, and then basically we're just buffing it and the guy's taking it. There's not going to be a paint job or anything. And then behind my T-Bird, kind of in front of my truck right there, there's a 69 Chevelle that's getting a full restoration. That's getting floors, quarters, wheel houses, rockers, doors, I mean, the whole 9 yards. So, trying to work on that stuff and 3 to 4 insurance jobs a week, it gets a little tough. So, especially if you get some tow-ins that you weren't expecting. So,
Right.
yeah.
That's cool, buddy. Yeah, like I love hearing about businesses like this where, and this isn't taking anything away from you guys or what you're capable of or whatever, but like just kind of that ma and pa, like, I don't know, maybe they make really good sourdough, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they start a little deal, and next thing you know, they're ran off their feet. It's like you don't need to be running through 100 vehicles a week. You know what I mean?
No.
Like it's more stress, more problems, more whatever. And with a business like that that's been around since 29, like good grief, like it's got a name, it's got a whatever. So yeah, let whoever take their fucking Hyundai accent to the, local In and Out, and you guys pick up cool shit. Like that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's this business being around so long. Because I remember asking my boss, I said, because it was his great grandfather that started this, and I said, I go, well, in 1928, I mean, you guys weren't painting cars. I go, what were you doing? And he goes, well, no, we were like an all-around repair shop. He goes, yeah. He goes, not many people had vehicles. He goes, so like back in like 1930, you'd come in with your horse and we'd reshoe it, kind of thing.
Wow.
He goes, we did everything. He goes, it wasn't just, car repair. That kind of was more in the 40s and 50s when it became more so that. It's funny. We got an old flyer in our office. It's from 1962, and it said we would paint your entire car for like $19 or some shit. I mean, it's like, holy crap, man. It's like, I can't believe, you can't even buy a spray can of paint for $19 now.
No,
Man,
roll of
that's like the
masking tape.
OG Mako right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was like OG Mako way back in the
Yeah.
day. But it's
I
kind of
fell
cool.
asleep. It's funny you're saying this, Adam, because like I fell asleep one night watching this documentary. I mean, it sounds like a shitty documentary if I'm falling asleep in it, but it was quite riveting. And they were talking about actually how like Henry Ford kind of got his start and everything, and then how the dealerships sort of formed out of that. And they actually touched on what you were saying, is that there were these like kind of horseshoe like repair shop type deals. And then they turned into like just a one-stop shop for everything else. Cause back then, everything was black or whatever, right? That was one of Henry Ford's famous things. Have any color you want, as long as it's black, right? And I mean, Lord knows what they put on it. It was probably shoe polish that made it black. You know what I mean? Like, wasn't something fancy. So body shops, as we know them today, weren't really a thing. But yeah, they were these like general maintenance, everything, like little resto shops everywhere, right? And then I guess some of the more entrepreneurial minded folks got into carving a deal with Ford and made these like dealerships that we know them to be today, right? So yeah, it's pretty wild when you look at the history of it all, right? Especially when all we know is what we know out in front of us right now, like the Makos of the world and whatever. Like, yeah, that stuff wasn't always around.
Yeah, this current building that we're in, it's been here since the early 60s. So they have moved locations one time. So like they were in town for the first like 35 years, I'll say, almost 40 years. And then they moved to this location, and it was funny because this particular spot actually was a gas station as well. Like, so in the 60s, they sold fuel as well as the body repair stuff. We have this one picture up front where there's these huge tanks like in the front of the parking lot now, and you can see where the tanks were pulled out of the ground and stuff. And now it's just a parking lot. But yeah, they basically do all kinds of stuff here. And it's pretty cool to kind of know the history. I mean, I'm now I'm now part of the end of of that part of it, but still cool, just to know what it was.
Oh, and I mean, like you're saying though, like keeping it small and staying true to like how it all started and stuff. That's amazing. So is Larry going to stay on with you and kind of help you through the transition and everything?
So is what he wants to do is, so he wants to stay until 2028. So that's 3 more years from now. That will be the 100th anniversary of the business. So is what he wants to do is he wants to work for me up until that time. And then at that time, he goes, maybe I'll moonlight a little bit, do a couple hours here and there. He goes, but other than that, I'm done. He goes, I'm going to call it, I'm going to call it at that point. He goes, so you've got 3 years to keep me. He goes, you better find another employee. I suggest someone younger like yourself or younger than you even. He goes, you need to mold somebody like we molded you.
Yeah. Oh, that's
kind
cool,
of show them how it's
man.
done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of the gist of that, So I'm excited.
Oh, dude, I'm excited for you like that. And to be having this like going on for yourself at your age too. I mean, Chris and I finally woke up in our mid 40s, you know what I mean? And went, what the fuck are we doing working for somebody else? But the story that you tell about Larry going like, hey, like, I can't remember if you said he had kids or that maybe he does and they just weren't interested. Nope. Or okay, so it doesn't even have any. Like
Nope.
there's so many stories
He's
out
got a
there.
step. He had two stepchildren. He's got a stepdaughter that is actually our secretary now. He did have a stepson, but who was my age, and he actually passed away a few years ago.
Okay.
Oh, he was one of my buddies actually, which is unfortunate. He had some issues, but
Gotcha.
so
Yeah, there are a lot of stories out there like that where like kids don't want to follow mom or
yeah,
dad's footsteps. And
yeah,
it's wild actually, because you think to yourself like, here's this thing that's fed you all
hmm
these years, right? Being the child of it and whatever, you must know it somewhat,
hmm
just being around it. It's like, why would you not want to run with it a little bit or whatever? But I don't know. That's maybe a topic in itself,
Well,
right? Like kids
I
now
can
are
tell
different.
you. So I can tell you, like, for instance, his stepson, he wasn't really into like the car scene, so that this didn't really interest him too much. And like his stepdaughter, she's like, well, I have no interest in running the business. She goes, I don't work on the cars or anything. So
Yeah.
but I told her she's got her job. She doesn't have to go nowhere. She's
Right.
all good. So you know,
Yeah.
It's too
no
bad.
problem with it.
And I think that's the other thing too. Like to the point where a lot of East Asians taking over gas stations, corner stores, and whatever, even like the fast food joints and everything else. Well, there's a difference with their family mentality is that the family all works and runs the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that like they're hands on versus everybody this day and age. Like, let's say the business was larger and it could run on its own. The problem is that the step kids, or even if he had kids in this scenario, are like, holy shit, I'm gonna have to get my hands dirty
Yeah.
if I take this over, like dad
Mm-hmm.
does. And they don't want to do it. If it was an established thing and they could just kind of boss people around, it'd probably have like a higher likelihood because they feel like, oh, I could run that, I could do that, whatever. And they'd probably run it into the ground anyways. But to the point, Gary, right? Like Boogie's son, right? He's tried to get him to want to do the whole secession thing with his body shop in Toronto, right? And the son, has helped out and dabbled here and there, but just doesn't have the passion or the drive the same way. Like, you know, painting and body work is a passion. So I
Oh yeah.
do feel like, you know what I mean? Like, you really got to have that mindset because, like, every time you grab that paint gun, I know, you know what I mean? Like, I feel that. I wish I could paint more myself. Like, it's a challenge every single time to yourself, and it couldn't be more
Mm-hmm.
fulfilling when stuff goes right. When it messes up,
Yeah.
you want to throw the fucking paint gun. But um, you know what I mean? So like it's a very hands-on, fulfilling type like role. So I could see it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
you'd really have to want to be in it. Otherwise, they'll take it on and then they'll be like looking for, okay, I need to follow my own passion. This isn't for me, so
Mm-hmm.
on and so forth. So I think it's great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're there and you probably were a son figure from day one. You're like, holy shit, this guy wants to learn. He listens to me. Probably a little bit of a pain in the ass and talk back in the old days, right? But like, um, yeah, no, I'm thrilled for you, man. It's awesome.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it, guys.
So Adam, I'm really curious to get you to like tell the story a little bit more in depth as to like how you. I'm assuming it sort of came out of your wife's creation of this Facebook page for you and stuff, but like, how does like Caleb all the way down south find you all the way up north, and how do all these other cars start falling on your doorstep?
Okay, so it's gonna be, well, I don't know, it's kind of strange, I guess, but um, so when I started getting back into, or when I got into the social media stuff, I didn't own a Mustang actually. Um, I had a '79 Mercury Capri. It was an RS. It was red. It had the eyebrow stripes on the quarters and the fenders.
Yeah.
It was originally a 4-cylinder turbo car, and I got it as a roller. I actually painted an SSP Florida car for a guy, and he had this Capri that he bought from Illinois that was a really nice original car. He takes it to a shop. They say they can offer him the moon, paint job, 351 Windsor swap, all this stuff. They tear the car completely apart. They destroy the car. Car comes back to him in a basket, more or less. I'm painting his SSP for him at the time. And he says to me, he goes, Adam, I'm junking this car. He goes, I don't want it. I'm done. And this was not a rusty car in any sort of way or anything. And I said, I can't let you do that. There's no way. I've never owned a Capri, and I thought they were cool. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, you owe me some money still on this paint job. I said, give me the car. I'll just, we'll call it a wash, or we'll call it even, more or less. And so I get this car, and I had a notchback prior to this that was on a rotisserie in my garage that I had dreams of doing a 4.6 4-valve swap on. I had a whole drivetrain out of a Mach 1, and I was going to do this. Well, I had this car, got married, tore the car apart, and then never touched it again for like 7 or 8 years almost. And so I get this Capri, and I just, like I said, I just sold the roller prior to that, or the car on the rotisserie, the Mustang. And I started putting this car together with all my leftover parts and this and that. And at this time, this is right around the time my wife makes the Facebook for me. So I'm painting on the car, shaving the engine bay, kind of doing this and that, and I get it together. And now I got Facebook, and I'm looking. First thing I see is Foxtoberfest coming up. It was 2016 or 17, I think. And I'm thinking, that looks like a badass car show. I've never been to, and I find it kind of funny because even in like 16, 17, I'm not positive it was still called it was being the Fox body term. I'm pretty sure it was still a 5.0 because I remember saying, "Oh, I bought a Capri, or I got a 5-liter." I don't remember saying Fox body even then. And but it was Foxtoberfest. I was like, "Oh, that looks cool," So I went to that. First time I went with my cousin. It was just on a whim, we went down there with this Capri, and I had the Capri parked in the parking lot. And I remember getting on my phone. I got a notification because I had just started following Caleb, Foxcast. That was when he was kind of doing it was almost like a podcast type thing he was doing on Facebook versus YouTube stuff. Yeah. And he did a lot of Facebook lives and things like that. And I remember he pulls into our hotel parking lot where I was staying. I didn't know the guy really. I just started following that stuff. And he walks right up to my car, and he's like, "Wow, look at this Capri. You don't see these, And I was like, "Hey, that's my car. That was pretty cool, I'm like, "Yeah, that's."
Oh,
and
you're watching it.
Yeah, I was watching it in the hotel room. I'm in the hotel room. I was like just sitting on the bed, We were getting ready to go to brewery night, of all things, as a matter of fact. And as a matter of fact, I seen Chris's Detch car for the first time, and I didn't know how to pronounce it then. I seen it was your silver car, I believe. Okay. Might have been 17. And there was another one too.
Yeah, I had the silver and the strawberry hatch.
Yes, there was 2 of them, I remember. Yeah. And so that was the first time I ever went. I think that was 2017, as a matter of fact. I could be wrong, but yeah, so I had that car, and it was funny because we ended up leaving and getting in the car, and Caleb was out there like shining up his tires or something on his car, and he come up to me and started talking to me, and I'm like, "Oh, hey, I'm so and so, this is my car, and that was the first time we ever met, and we didn't keep in touch or anything like that. Well, and that was kind of my first meeting with him. Well, that winter, I actually got that car. And that car was a hunk of shit. And I started redoing it. And I was on all the T-Bird groups, and I was kind of doing the body work, and I had to put quarters on that car and door. I mean, that car was bad. You'd probably think to yourself, why'd you even fix it? Because they're not worth much. But I don't know. You're a body guy. What is your time, more or less,
Totally, yeah.
So I start working on that car. Well, at the time, I'm now looking on Facebook, and I'm seeing people starting to do Coyote Swap stuff. Well, that's when Caleb announced he was going to do his car. It was right at that time. And I was like, well, that's a pretty sweet idea, you know? I'm like, I think that's pretty cool. I would do that. I always wanted to do that 4-valve swap on my coupe and never did it.
Yeah.
Well, we ended up getting a truck that came in here with a bad motor in it. And we had to put a Coyote in this 14 F-150 because we do mechanical work here too. Mostly because I do mechanical work. My boss doesn't like doing it. And
Right.
I kept the core motor. And I thought, well, man, maybe I could do something with this. So I rebuilt the motor, and then I started deciding to do the Coyote in that car. Well, then I joined some Coyote groups on Facebook, like the Coyote Swap Fox Bodies and Coyote Swap the World and whatever else, you know. Well, I started posting like some pictures of this car, and like Caleb was like one of my biggest fans, like immediately. He's like, dude, that is cool. You don't see people doing that to that car, you know. And I remember we just kept in touch after that. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm the guy with the Capri, you know, if you remember. Well, after that, it seemed like we were buddies, you know. And I got the car done, and he's like, dude, you're coming to Foxtoberfest with it, right? And I'm like, well, yeah. And that was in 2019. He's like, you're going to park in my booth. He goes, you
Oh,
got to park in
sweet.
my booth. That thing is cool, you know. I'm like, sure. You know, I thought that was cool. And,
Yeah.
you know, and then because of that car, I ended up getting like other, like Silver Sport transmissions. I ended up making good friends with a couple guys down there, and they were like enthralled with the car that it was a Coyote swap, and they wanted to use a Coyote swapped Fox body or chassis, I guess, for like they wanted to use it basically for mock-up. They wanted to make some fixtures for like their hydraulic slave stuff to bolt to the firewall.
Okay.
Well, my one buddy down there is like, well, hey, you should come down to Bowling Green for Holly Ford Fest and be in our booth. And I'm like, oh, sweet. You know, I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. He goes, because we're gonna hook you up with the transmission setup. And I'm like, sweet, yeah, I'll buy one because I had a T5 in that thing first behind the
Oh,
Coyote because I was doing it on a budget, you know, balling on a budget, they say. Well, that was
yeah.
the T5 with a QuickTime bell housing. Well, they could not have that, it had to have a TKX or a T56 in it, So I was, saving up some cash to do that. And I ended up going to Bowling Green. I'm in their booth. Well, Caleb's in their booth. Didn't know that. So me and Caleb were BSing, and he's checking the car out and he's like, man, this thing is sweet. What are you doing? And he had just got Pop's car, the white hatch. And I said,
Right.
well, dude, I can paint that car for you. Like, cause he wanted a paint job. And he's like, yeah, we'll meet up. We'll do whatever, Well, we just kept in touch. And basically I took the car back to Tennessee to get Silver Sport to use it for their mock-up and stuff and to put a transmission setup in it. So I left the car with Caleb, and then I took Pop's car home that weekend that we were visiting. And the plan was get Pop's car done before Ford takeover. So I had like a month and a half to do that car, and that car was bad. It wasn't very good.
Right.
So ended up painting that car, and by the time I got that back to him for Ford takeover, that was done, and Caleb had kind of helped arrange everything and get it back to me. And then shortly after that, then I did the Road Warrior car for him, and that
Yeah.
was when he took that truck, which I don't know if you guys remember, he did a Gen 2 Coyote in that for me. So we
Right.
did some labor trade, buddies working with buddies, just doing, no cash involved kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris knows what it takes to do Coyote stuff and how expensive it is. I was going to
Yeah.
do a swap in that truck myself because I blew up motor number 2 in it, 5.4,
Oh yeah,
and
I know that way.
yeah, 2 connecting rods out the side of the block in a brand new
Ooh.
Ford block with 6,000 miles on it. Probably too
Damn.
much boost.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I was going to do a Coyote in it, and they're like, well, hell, we can do your Coyote swap for you. We'll source all the stuff. We'll do all the work. If you take the Road Warrior, you do the paint work. And at the time, which that was one of the things that took forever, which I don't know if you've seen it in LMR, Chris, but that's when he got his car back. We met up that weekend for that. And
Yeah, that was like the big reveal with the
and he wasn't even going to take that car. What's that?
With Saw's strut towers.
Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of his, and that took forever to do because he was working with a company to try and get something going. and then it ended up not really happening. And I said to him, I go, dude, your car is like I had the whole car like pretty much ready for paint, but I was waiting on the engine bay. Like I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. And and it's not his fault or anything. And it's kind of funny because I got a little bit of grief from, social media that I was, taking forever, body shop, hell, or prison, and it's like, that's not actually the case, but okay, And finally he made the call. He's like, cut the strut towers out. And I'm like, okay. I mean, you're sure? I mean, so when I cut them out, I mean, I have nothing to test fit. I mean, I hope I do this the way that it needs to be done for whatever kit you're running. And he's like, just cut them out. He goes, just do it. And I'm like, okay. I said, let's do it. So I cut everything out and I made custom panels from basically almost the firewall to the core support, and welded it all in solid. And I know that's a big thing, which I know, Chris, like you've talked about, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I've always been one to try and weld everything if at all possible. And, and try and encapsulate and do whatever you can so that you don't have the nooks and crannies and things where it can crack or, rust again, depending on what you do. But I ended up making those panels, and then I shaved the top of the cowl completely. Like there's no wiper motor, there's no indent for the wiper motor. I got rid of all all the holes in the top of the cowl, like all the little indents for like the earlier style cowl vent. And I shaved like the core support because he didn't want to run like any of those Scott Rod panels or anything, which I don't blame him. I really like a clean core support myself versus the Scott Rod panel if you can do it. Not that there's anything wrong with the Scott Rod panel. I mean, those look good too, but certain cars for certain things, But yeah, I did all that, and then changed the color of the car. It's actually a Chrysler color. It's a Jeep color of all things. Even though it doesn't look much different than the stock color that the car was, it is a much more vibrant color. It was very expensive. Red is not cheap.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But I'm cool with it because, like I said, I mean, all that work they did to that, So
Yeah, it's a good swap.
yeah. And then I did and Chris probably noticed it because I know he does it on a lot, or he has it done on a lot of the cars he does. Same with the wiper cowl. 2 wiper cowls meshed together, the plastic, get rid of the wipers and completely. I don't want nobody to see that there was, that it was an afterthought, it's got to be gone. It's got to be clean,
Yeah.
I don't want to say that anything on Caleb's car was, my original idea. I mean, because so many people do so many things, in obviously the community of hot rodding. So I just took, the ideas that I liked, and then I, modified them a little bit in my own way to, I guess, make it my own. So I just did it on Caleb's car. I tried making it a little different so that it was just different. So
That's cool, buddy.
Mhm.
I love these stories when, you've got a handful of years to look back on, and you go like, at the time that it's all unfolding, you're just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I met this guy, bing, bang, boom. But then like the further down the road you get and you do the look back, you're like, holy shit, like a lot has happened since this little goofy face plant that we run into each other in a hotel parking lot of all places.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
crazy.
The thing that's funny, and I actually made kind of a little bit of a post about it on the 507 after being in their booth, or their display, I should say. Being the guy that doesn't have the Mustang, it's good and bad. You either get a lot of hate or you get a lot of love. And luckily with that car, I don't know why, it seems to get a lot of love. And I don't want to say I wouldn't be kind of the guy that I am, but without that car, I don't know if people would know, some of the stuff that I've done. It's kind of stupid to say, but it'd be hard to sell it, even though I would sell it. But
look at it though. Like, I can't think of another T-Bird that stands out to me like that one does. Like on air, like the wheel and
well, that's because of you guys.
Combo.
I like the air, man. So
Well, and actually, okay, I'd be amiss if I didn't say this too. You're in really good company being on here with Chris and I, because we're the fucking idiots that put body kits on coupes. So like this is weird land. Like we
yeah,
all exist together.
yeah, exactly. No, I
Yeah,
seen
dude.
Chris's silver car on air, like I said, that first year at Foxtoberfest, I believe. And I remember thinking to myself, that is badass looking. Like, I don't think I've ever seen, a Mustang that way. Because I remember being, into like the mini truck thing, and that's where you seen the air, you know. But to see
Yeah.
like his car on that like setup, it was pretty cool. And then, as the years have progressed, I've been seeing it more so. And then, I kind of went the route you did because, or Gary, you did because it was a little bit cheaper than the air or the air ride tech stuff or the air
Right.
tech or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah.
But
Ride tech. Yeah.
yeah, ride tech. There we go.
Yeah. It's, what's funny about it, buddy, is once you have it or you spend a little bit of time around somebody else that has it, all of a sudden you start looking at like what you used to consider like a low car to be. And you're like,
Hmm.
my God, like it almost looks like stock height,
Right.
when you put it beside something with air, because you just have like that much more low, right?
Yeah.
And funny enough, I haven't talked to him about this, but Chris, I think you were out in front of the house in and around the time that War Admiral was walking around, because we had my car there, and then Lewis's Cobra is also on air, and you could smell the gear oil burning, like he's thinking heavy, right? Because they're both aired out and whatever. And his car sits perfect as far as like statically dropped cars go, right? But like when you see it parked beside a slammed aired out car, you're like, fuck, that's a whole nother level of low. Like, and granted, it's just a look. Like,
Hmm.
funny enough, I posted a video on my story today. I know, Chris, you saw it before we jumped on, but I had some buddies come by the shop last night, and one beer led to 3 beer, and on it went. But anyway, the one guy that I didn't know that was a buddy of a buddy or whatever, he's like, wasn't saying much initially, but my car's sitting there on the hoist, and he's like, finally pipes up, he goes, "You can't drive this car around like that, can you?" And I'm like, no, right? He's like, "Well, how do you do it?" And anyway, it's always the party flavor, right? You hit the button and everybody goes, "Holy shit, what just happened here?" Car goes up, and they're like, "What? This is crazy. I didn't even know you could do this and whatever." But anyway, the point being, like, it's such an aesthetically pleasing thing if you like low vehicles to see one whacked right out, you know? And yeah, it's really weird once you've appreciated that low. It's kind of it makes everything else that used to be low not low anymore.
Oh, it's an addiction.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really, really weird how that works. But anyway, I don't know. I got a feeling Tom's doing a lot of thinking ever since Ponies and the Smokies, because I could smell the gear oil burning when he was walking around out there thinking and looking.
Yeah.
Well, it was cool just being in the display. There was, I mean, with your car and my car, I know Lewis's car, um, Chuck's car.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
mean, that was 4 cars. And was there one more? I feel like there was one more, but I could be wrong. I mean,
For sure, those 4. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's 4 cars in that one square, all on air, and they
Yeah.
all looked cool down, you
Yeah.
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So I
That
mean,
was a hell of a display. Hey,
yeah,
like the cars that were in that, and I mean, whatever, Tom, John, and Jesse, they all said it, like, we're whatever, brainstorming and hand picking and doing all this stuff. Like, it was a really unreal group of cars.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
What's actually even crazier about that, though, is to think like there was 60 some odd cars there that we all know and love. Well, some that, like maybe you don't see as much of, whatever, and then you get to see them in person. But the crazy part for me, especially being way up here on this silly little frozen island that I am, to think that like that's 60 of like thousands of amazing cars that are out there, And yet we still think of them as like so few and far between. And don't get me wrong, they are, especially these days. But to think that like 60 of them were in one spot, and that's 60 of, like, I don't know, how many do you think like proper get out and enjoy, turn heads, Fox bodies are rolling on the road in North America right now, or the world? Because I've talked to people in Sweden with them too. So
Yeah.
like, how many do you think? Is there 1,000?
Oh yeah, active roller, like active drivers, or
No.
like upper, like
The whole
asylum
reason,
show.
the whole reason
head
I got
driver.
into those, the whole reason I got into those beers last night is because a roller, my buddy wanted my thoughts on it. This thing literally had been rolled and he didn't know it. Like, it was a fucking disaster. But so I don't mean like that. I mean like, you know, willing to put them on display at a car show, like proper cars.
Well, I would say, because what we see at like North Texas Fox Body Club, for instance, right? Like 120,
Yeah.
something like that. Hardly any of those guys went to Foxtoberfest. You know what I mean? Me.
Oh, fuck, a Foxtoberfest crowd's 1,000. What am I talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
you got
that's
that.
a United States thing, though, man. I mean, that's not just from North Carolina.
And
Yeah.
then, you know what I mean? You got like the end of year gathering in Toronto that I swear netted 200 some cars, right? And like, so
Nice
that's,
cars.
you got to take like every metropolitan, like what's GTA is like 3 million. Dallas is probably, you know what I mean, somewhere around there as well. Like, I bet you there's 500 on 100 spoke wheels alone in California,
Oh man.
Right.
right? Because like there's what 70 cars at the show. There was at least like 50 cars on wires at the show. So I feel like it's sort of like 10% participate. So you almost got to like, you know what I mean? Add 90% more to the
10X.
pool because like to your point, right? Like, or Adam's point of taking all of these cool elements. Sometimes you think you're like the first one to do some custom mod, and then some guy 20 years ago never showed his car to anybody, been
Right.
sitting in a garage, did all this super cool shit that nobody knows about because the dude doesn't have social media or
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
car was in storage. Like, because a lot of these things that we're talking about, to Adam's point, right down the air ride is a lot of mini trucking scene type stuff, like shaved handles,
Yeah.
shaved blocks, shaved wiper, shaving gas doors, whatever. Like, I feel like we've almost lost a lot of that because now it's almost like, oh, you need to be like stock and purist and you can't be shaving shit off or putting body kits on or whatever. Like, now it's more about the swaps. But anyways, to the back to the point, like, dude, there's got to be 10,000.
Yeah. That was a really fucking stupid announcement on my behalf to be 1,000. Like,
It's all right. You had a
especially
lot of beers. By the way,
Yeah.
the guy with the fucking box on his head with the fucking flap going,
Yeah.
like, it's like that is Canada. Every Canadian has that one friend just like that guy, hands down.
It's so true, man. Hey, and actually, speaking of wires, so how this worked out last night was a friend of a friend who actually they're brothers. So he says my brother's got this 90 GT and he doesn't know what he wants to do it. He thinks he wants to sell it. Can you just look at it and try and help steer him in one of the two directions, right? Yeah, sure. So anyway, car shows up. It's like almost eerily stock. Like, I'm talking smog pump, like still got the motor hooks on it, like all this stuff. But I'm like, the paint isn't ideal. The hood's cockeyed. Like, this thing's been smacked. Then it's got Chinese fenders on it. Anyway, the more time you spent around it, you're just like, I think this thing's almost gone into the weeds upside down, maybe. Like, it's anyway, and then whoever painted it closed one eye and hoped for the best too. And so I said, yeah, and I'm like, it's not even lowered. Like those are stock springs and it's still and everything. I said, where'd you get these? It's got a set of 17-inch 4-bolt Cobra R's on it. He says, well, actually, when I got it, it had Dayton's on it. I'm like, come on. He goes, yeah, these like all chrome wire wheels. I'm like, were they real Dayton's? He goes, I think so. I'm like, they weren't China's? And he's like, China's like from China? I'm like, yeah, like I said, there's a whole world that I'm just kind of like starting to fall into here and understand a bit of, but I'm like, there's Dayton's and there's China's, and that's it. He goes, well, I don't know. I sold them for $2,000. I'm like, you better hope they weren't Dayton's, buddy, because you got fucked if you sold them for $2,000.
Oh, actually, to your point, wheels would actually be because, like Jason from Makers, right? He told us how many sets of reimagined Cobras he had needed to make in a weird way, right? Because all the variations, I want to say he needed like 600 wheels per variant. So there was the actual Cobra offset and 4-lug, the non-Cobra offset and 4-lug, and then the 5-lug option, right? So, and he sold out of them. Like they're all gone. So
Yeah.
all that 2,000 whatever, right? Or 1,800 or whatever, even 1,500. So you probably got, think about just how many 93 Cobras are probably out there. Like, come on. We saw what, 15 teal Cobras alone. I don't know how many were at Pitts, but there's definitely 15 at Foxtoberfest last year. So if we use a 10% rule, right? Like we know there's at least 150, probably even more of each color. So there's got to be at least 1,093 Cobras.
Yeah.
Readily available out of 3,000 and something, I think. I forget. Josh Kennedy's the last SVT certificate I saw, but think of all the clean verts. Dude, I'm going to say there's like 20,000 Foxes out there for grabs.
Yeah. There's got to be at least, because I think it's one of those things, just because we've reached this point in time where you do not see very many of them anymore, unless you go to one of these shows or something, right? But like, go for a drive tonight, you will not see a Fox body.
No.
Like, I can pretty much throw money on that, and sure, now we kind of treat them as garage queens and stuff, so people don't get out in them as much. But it's just, I guess maybe, it's always amazing to me, like, that there are still as many of them out there as there is. It's
look at all the ones that Adam's got in the background. You know what I mean? I didn't know he had all those.
I want to hear about these.
I've got what, 15?
Yeah, there's
true.
So just in this building, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 Mustangs in here right now. Foxes.
Yeah. And even in my shop, I took a picture today because I'm like, holy shit, my shop is full. Sent it to Gary. He's like, yeah, you need more space. Like every one of those cars would be, worth their, or they're going to be running and driving and whatever at the end of the day and worthy. So like, yeah, there's more out there than we think.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough of them that people are hoarding. I mean, outside of this building, there's probably another 10. So, and whether they're hidden as parts cars or they're customer cars or whatever, but yeah, they're out there.
For sure.
I think there's more than we think. We just don't see them. I mean, like to Gary's point, I can tell you right now, I mean, well, the weather's not very great either, but there is no Mustangs that are cruising around my town that are Fox bodies.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, none that I know of.
They're in a winter beater mode still.
Yeah, exactly. Although this morning, so I took my son to school. We had snow this morning. It sucked. And I get pulling back in my driveway. Here goes a guy in a Terminator driving by. I'm like, are you serious, dude? I mean, a nice one. It was that dark shadow gray.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Real nice car. And it was a coupe. It wasn't a convertible, but it was a 03, 04 Terminator. And I'm like, dude, why are you driving that in this? I mean, there's no way in hell I'd be driving my Terminator in snow. So
Totally. So, okay, is that a 79 behind you, buddy?
this is an 80.
80.
So it's kind of like your little car.
Right.
It's a 4-cylinder, 4-speed car.
Ooh, hot rod.
Yeah. I don't know if you can kind of see.
Oh, look
Oh,
at that.
yeah. I like the
There's my
wheels.
son's. Yeah.
Oh, hey, sorry about the bad language there, kiddo.
I don't know.
Don't
he's
learn
used to
anything
it.
from Uncle Gary here.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's still hanging around. He should be going up to the house and going to bed. But no, yeah, this is an 80. It's actually from Tennessee. I got it from one of my buddies. I did some horse trading, got this one. I'm not going to paint it or anything. I'm going to leave it just the way that it looks. I think
That's a cool looking
the whole
color.
shit box look is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So, but it's
The paint looks pretty good on it though.
I've buffed it. If I get up
Okay.
close to it, there's a lot of burn through, like, I don't want to call it burn through spots, but there's a lot of, we'll just say patina spots,
There you
on
go.
it. But I did put, which the back needs to come down. It's way too high. I'm gonna tell you that right now. The cut Steeda springs, I did not cut enough out of them. The front sits just good enough, man. I mean, the tires are tucking in the wheel wells, so that's the way the front should look. But it's funny because this car, I put a pace car hood scoop on it. I pulled one off of okay, so there's a story, but I've had like several pace cars that were parts cars, and I still actually have a pace car that's hoarded away that I'm gonna restore at some point for my son. So,
Nice.
but I've got a patinaed pace car hood scoop on it that's all ratty looking that kind of fits the car. And then the front bumper, I actually, because I didn't want to put the upper cover on it, I just sawzalled the bottom of the original base model cover off, and then I put a pace car lower underneath it. So it's got a ratty looking black lower fascia on the front. So I think
Hell
it looks
yeah.
cool. It's kind of cool because I don't know if you can see, but it is actually a mirror delete car. Doesn't have a mirror on the
Oh,
passenger
yeah.
side. It's really weird.
And
It's a
the
factory
sunroof car.
It's a factory sunroof car.
Yeah.
But it's really strange. It's very basic. It's a console
Right.
delete car, so it's got no console. It's got the ashtray under the
Oh, yeah.
under the radio.
Yeah.
And it's got the high back vinyl bucket seats in it they don't recline or anything. Real uncomfortable, but
Right.
they're gonna stay. I'm
Are you leaving it four banger?
No. So I actually do have an engine that I'm putting together for it, and it's completely different from anything like that. It's like a warmed over, like a 306. I'm putting a carburetor on it. I'm thinking about making like a drag and drive car out of it, honestly. I think that'd be
Hell
kind
yeah.
of cool. So I did a lot of
That's
hot rod power tour stuff with the T-Bird. So I kind of like that driving, kind of like your guys' road trips. I kind of like the
Yeah.
driving thing. So, and that drag and drive, like that sick week stuff, kind of like intrigues me. So I feel like this might be the cool car to do it in.
Totally, man.
So I got a
Well,
brand new
it's-
T5 I'm going to put behind it for now. Nothing that's going to be like super fast, but
Fun.
Well, hey, since
Yeah.
you seem to come across all these pace cars, I've actually always wanted one. And like that's the thing, like they're not hard to find, but like they are hard to find because like you see them everywhere, but usually not in the greatest form.
No.
And I missed out on one last year out of Canada, actually. Guy wanted it in a waffle and he just wanted a quick payout. And it was super clean, low miles, and somebody beat me to the punch, unfortunately. But yeah, they look cool, right? Like that whole front fascia, like an 82,
Yeah.
and kind of the whole graphics and all that stuff. The seats are
Mhm.
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the engine bay is practically shaved.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
It's got like a third of the holes that a 93 would have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's really funny because like this car being a four-cylinder, like being just it's not non-turbo four-cylinder. I mean, it's the bare bones. There is like nothing in that engine bay. I mean, it's so like it was before people wire tucked. It was already wire tucked. I
Yeah.
mean, there's like nothing in there. So it's just kind of funny. But
Yeah.
Gary,
yeah, so
what's in your 70 or your 79?
Yeah, it's the 3 or whatever, the inline
The
6.
inline 6?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think if I remember right, Bill brought this up in the little runaround we did on that car, and I think the 4-banger actually is rated like 1 or 2 horsepower more than that inline 6.
I was gonna say, I think the horsepower is actually more on this one.
You'd have the torque though.
Yeah, she's a little torquey, but yeah, it's something disgusting, like 83 horsepower or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's real weak, man. Put it this
Yeah.
way, this car will not even squeak the tire. I pulled this in the shop last Sunday, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna rev it up. I'm gonna do like a nasty, clutch dump. It stalled. It went. I was like, really? I'm like, you're gonna embarrass me right now. It would
And
not
that's
do
on
it.
a smooth concrete floor too.
Oh, yeah, that was right over there. It wouldn't do it in the building over there. I'm like, wow, that's pathetic. So,
Holy shit.
but yeah.
Well, buddy, I've never officially heard the story on the T-Bird. So like how did this thing come into your life, and how have you gone so far down the garden path with it?
So I got the T-Bird. It would have been the end of 2017. So right when I was talking about, meeting Caleb and stuff, because it was like right after I met him is when I got this car. I had a buddy who was he was one of those B lot used car dealers, and he always bought hood cars. He bought cars that were junk, but he could fix them up and put very little cash into them and sell them to the next
Sorry, soul.
hood more or less type person. And he bought that T-Bird at an auction, and he bought the car for $175. It ran and drove. It was a running, driving car. It was pretty rusty, rotted in almost every panel. And it was kind of funny because it had the most hood-looking purple tin on it, kind of rigged up Tuffy muffler dual exhaust, and it had old school, like probably 15, almost 20-year-old Eagle alloy 15-inch polished wheels on the car. Four
Oh
lug
my.
front. And I was like, wow. And of course being, it was definitely more of a luxury one too, because it had the crushed velvet type 60/40 bench seat in it, so it was a real plush like one. And he gets the car and he's like, I don't know why I bought this car. I think he was one of those types that liked to drink before he went to the auction, He's like, I shouldn't have bought this. He goes, I don't know why I bought this. It was sitting in his back lot, and he goes, and at the time I was actually it was kind of funny. We were working on a 41 Cadillac that he had, and we were doing a complete engine swap out of a SS Impala, like a 96 Impala. So we had a whole LT1 drivetrain, and we were putting it in that Cadillac for the guy. And yeah, it was kind of cool. It was a very odd combination of things, but of course the SS Impala he bought from auction, and he bought the Cadillac from auction, so he's putting all the stuff together with what he bought cheap, But
right.
but he had that car, and he says to me, he goes, man, you do some cool shit with like Mustangs and things, Fords of like that era. He goes, do you want that car? And I'm like, sure. I always thought turbo coupes were kind of cool.
Yeah.
That wasn't a turbo coupe though. It was just an LX 5-liter automatic car, column shift, And I was like,
Right.
sure, yeah. I mean, what do you want for it? And he goes, fuck it. He goes, you can just have it. He goes, I'll put the title in your name. I'm like, okay. So I didn't pay a dime for the car. He put the title in my name, and I got a license plate, and I started driving it around like that. I thought, you know what, this is gonna be my winter beater.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'll running around. I'll keep the miles off my brand new truck that I had, for winter. And I started driving it around, and like the dumbass that everybody does with any Fox body type thing. What's the first thing I did? I pulled all the 4-lug shit off of it and 5-lug swapped the entire car, and then bought a set of cheap ass SVE wheels and threw them on the car.
Right.
I'm like, that was the worst thing I could have did for winter driving. I mean, the car had no traction. I mean, it was worthless. And I ended up like parking it halfway through the winter, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do with this thing? So then I started fixing the body on it. I thought, you know what, I'll just make a hot rod out of it. Fuck it. So I
Was
started.
it always black?
No, the car was silver originally.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
So it was a silver car with like a lighter gray interior, and I actually bought a '87 Cougar, an XR7 Cougar. It was a no title car, had a blown up motor, and the car had really low miles, and it was completely rock solid, like really nice. Like every panel on it was solid as can be. And the '87 Cougar shares the same, almost 90% of the panels are the same on that car as the Cougar. So I thought, well, I got no title for the Cougar, and honestly, I wasn't really a fan of the roof line and the way the Cougar glass kind of swoops up and stuff. I thought this was a
Comes down
better
the back,
looking
yeah.
car. So I thought, you know what? I'll just strip the Cougar and I'll take the parts and start fixing this car. Well, that car was black. And I'm like, man, I like the look of that black car. So it was funny. I stuck the whole front clip on this car and the doors that were black, and the car was still silver when I was driving it around. So it was the front of the car was all black, but the quarters and the roof were silver and the deck lid was silver. And I'm like, this car looks pretty good black. I'm like, maybe I'll go that way. And then of course I started doing the car, and then I thought, no, I don't want to paint it black. I'm like, you know what color I really like? I really liked Twilight Blue. I thought
Oh
GT
yeah.
Mustangs looked sweet in Twilight Blue, and the '87, '88 Turbo Coupe could have came in Twilight Blue. So I was like, that looked pretty fucking sweet. So
Yep.
I start getting the car around, and I'd gotten the engine bay done, and I was like gonna paint the engine bay first. And I was like, all right, what am I doing? Am I doing blue or am I doing black? Am I doing blue? Am I doing black? I literally just flicked a coin. I'm like, fuck it, it's black now. So then I painted
Yeah.
the engine bay black, and then the car became black. So
Huh.
yeah,
I don't think you could have gone wrong either way. Like I'm just looking at it over your shoulder, trying to picture it blue. Like I think you would have hit just as much of a home run, but there's something about that black, like black. It's the right black, like it's classy. You know what I mean? Like I want to say like piano black. You know what I mean? Like
right.
black in that regard.
I think it's
Right?
just like
Yeah.
a sinister slab. You know what I mean? It's a long
Yeah.
car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just black just suits it and just gives it that class. Because I don't
Yeah.
know. The blue's a really nice color. It's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think black was a home run on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was on the fence, and when I did black, I mean, I'm happy I went black. I mean, well,
Yeah.
I'm not happy on the tail end of having black, the cleanup, the
Right.
prep, making it look nice all the time and all that stuff. And the fact that it takes a lot of cleaning if you want it to look good, but in polishing and stuff. But I do like that it's black. It, like Chris said, it's very sinister looking.
Yeah.
So, and when I was first doing the car, I was thinking about doing like kind of the murdered outlook. We'll do, all black moldings, black grill, no black or no chrome wheels, no silver wheels, which obviously I got silver wheels. I was thinking I'd do everything black, door handles and all. Well, the car originally had like chrome door handles, chrome grill. It has got that chrome in the body side molding.
Yeah.
And the Cougar I had actually had chrome mirrors. So I was running chrome mirrors for the longest time. I just put the black mirrors back on the car before pits because I was like, well, the chrome looks good. It's kind of more of a classy hot rod, but,
Yeah.
and everyone always gives me crap that, if you go to the front, everyone tells me I need to paint my grill black or put the turbo coupe, header panel on it. But I really like the look of the grill. And plus, being that I got a shaved engine bay, I need all the cooling I can get, man.
Yeah.
So just that little bit helps. So, and I'm not going to paint my grill because I paid a crap load of money for that NOS grill that's in that car, and I'm not painting it. It's staying chrome.
I'm glad you brought this up, buddy, because like I'm definitely intrigued at like how you've been able to put this car into like turn it into the car that it is in the shape that it is, like, and you said it was a complete shit box. So like,
Yeah.
are there parts availability? Like, I mean, you being in Michigan, you got a leg up, right?
Right.
Like, I would think anyway. Parts stashes and cars laying around, whatever. But like, how hard has it been to like get that thing to the state that it's in?
It's tough finding parts. I mean, drivetrain wise, some interior stuff, obviously suspension, there's a lot of things that interchange with a Mustang.
Right.
But anything bodies,
Interior.
yeah, I mean, there's some interior stuff that changes, like seats and things. I mean, you guys might have seen I have Corbu seats in it. Obviously, those are the same ones everybody buys, so they're Mustang,
Yeah.
But Corbu doesn't make a back seat cover like they do for the Mustang. So like I had to have a local shop make my cover to match the Corbu front seats, It kind of sucks too because I wanted to do those Recaros that everyone's getting in the mix on.
Yeah.
But before that got like super popular, I did that. And I was like, damn it, I should have waited a little bit, But
Right.
I still would have I still would have had to have someone local do a back seat for me because I know those guys over in Malaysia, they ain't got no patterns for no rear seat for a T-Bird,
Right.
I'd be sending them my pattern so they could copy it, then to send it back, and I'm not going through all that. But
Totally.
like, yeah, anything body, taillights, headlights, grill, any body panels, there's no reproduction parts. Everything has got to be sourced used, unless you can find NOS stuff. NOS stuff is super hard to come by. Like a guy just listed a set of turn signals, like a pair of turn signals for the car, NOS ones, and they're pulling money like NOS box headlights pull. It's stupid.
Really?
Yeah, like it's $500 for just 2 turn signals. I mean, and
Holy shit.
that's along the lines of what guys are getting out of, the Mustang stuff. I mean, I would love to have a set of NOS turn signals and headlights, but I'm not going to fork over almost $2,000 for a whole set. It's not going to
Yeah.
happen, you know? So, and same with taillights and like my quarter glass, I would love to find a better set of quarter glass, or if there was like a company like the guys that were doing like that Quarter Horse or like Fox Resto was doing, where they were doing the Mustang ones. I'd love to have someone redo my rear glass because I'm not a fan of the filling and priming and painting them. I mean, I've done it. I mean, I'm just like everyone else. I've done the restoration on the Mustang windows and they look good, don't get me wrong, but I want the real rubber. I mean, that's just me,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. And I would like to have that for that, but it's just
Totally.
not going to happen. And it sucks too because being that this is not a turbo coupe, it's got chrome in everything. Like, so turbo coupes have black. Like, so they would have black around the windows. They would have black in the moldings. The LX doesn't. It's got chrome. So it's even harder to find that stuff. Because believe it or not, there's more turbo coupes out there than there is LX cars. So
Huh.
yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. And then even and I didn't even, and you learn new stuff every day. I mean, no one knows everything. And I'm not like the T-Bird connoisseur. I don't know everything when it comes to them. It was like a couple years ago, I realized that the inner marker lights that meet the grill are actually different from a turbo coupe. The inner marker
Oh.
lights are a different shape on an LX car versus a turbo coupe because the header panel is designed different because they don't have the grill. I would have never
Right.
guessed. And I mean, I could have been one of those unfortunate guys that bought a new light at some point and like, oh man, and it didn't fit, So
Shit.
yeah. So it's
That's
just kind of one of
wild,
those
buddy.
things.
Okay, so
Yeah.
then you ran it around with the 5-liter in it for however long. And then
So it was stock push rod for probably 6 or 7 months. And then the motor came out when I started redoing the car. And I wasn't going to pull the motor or do anything. I wasn't even going to paint the engine bay when I was going to paint the car. And I was looking at it and it had a rotted frame rail by the strut tower. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm like, I got to fix this now. So the motor came out. Both frame rails were rotted. I was like, damn it. I'm like, well, we're fixing that. And And then I'm like, okay, we're fixing the frame rails. Well, I'm shaving the engine bay now. Let's just do that too. And I boxed all the frame, like, so that car's got the LMR panels that look stock and the front aprons, same as a Mustang. And then I ended up plating the frame on that car, and kind of like a Scott rod, so it kind of comes down and it goes smooth across. And then I plated the frame on the inside as well, because I had to cut it all out because it was rotted. And then I plated it in the back too, like where it meets the firewall as well. So like if you look at it, it's not quite like a lot of the other ones, I guess. I mean, everybody does it slightly different. So, but yeah, so I had to fix all that, and then like the car, like that's a new rocker panel on that side. I cut that off the Cougar, so it's got the Cougar rocker on this side. It's got the Cougar quarter on this side. That's the Cougar door, Cougar fender as well.
Right.
The other side, I patched the wheel well in the bottom of the quarter using the Cougar stuff, and then painted the whole car black and started putting it back together. And then I put like a turbo coupe interior in it because I wanted bucket seats and a console, and then I changed it to a stick shift, and that's all Mustang stuff,
Right.
And then the Coyote went in it, and it was
that's
Coyote
what so that unfortunate whatever half ton at 14 at half ton comes in with the blown motor. You guys flip that out for them, keep the core, rebuild that 5 liter.
Yep.
And just left it on a stand until this thing was ready to have
pretty much. Yeah, so I kept that core. I had to pay $275 for the core, and kept the core. And the motor, that this 5 liter that's in this car, was kind of funny. So it had 100,000 miles on it, and it's like, but the truck ran, but it had a really bad misfire. Well, pulled the heads off it. It had all burnt exhaust. I think it was exhaust valves in it. Every single one was like flattened right down and sharp. Like you could take and like run your hand around the valve and it would like cut your fingers. It was so like from it just running, just smashed it to, on itself.
Wow.
So I had the heads all redone, put new chains, guides, went through the front, put like the oil pump in it, put the gears in the oil pump, because I thought, well, hell, if I want to put boost on it sometime, might as well do that. New gaskets, and check the bearings and stuff, but everything looked fine. So I didn't like stock. It's got all the stock bearings, stock rotating assembly. Like I didn't redo any of that stuff.
So bottom end was good.
Yeah, bottom end was good. So, and I've driven like 23,000 miles on the car since I put it together. So that engine has got like 130,000 miles on the stock bottom end right now. So
wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
And then I took the truck cams out and put the Mustang cams. I think it's is it just the intake cams? I think you got to change. I don't think you don't have to change all 4 of them. I know it's just 2. Can't remember which ones it was, but
yeah, I think it is the intake to drive, because of the actual intake is different, right? The torquier, longer, shorter runners, all that.
Yeah, so I actually still have the truck intake on it too.
Oh, nice.
I didn't even put a Mustang one on it, so it was kind of funny. I mean, I was again balling on a budget kind of thing, kind of deal. And but yeah, got it going, and it's kind of cool too, because I went to my second Ford takeover I ever went to. I ran it on the dyno because I was just curious, I was the guy that produced the baby numbers, but to the tire it was 427 horsepower on a Mustang dyno. Yeah. And it's got just a tune on it. It's got a cold air intake, hot air intake, essentially. Long tube headers, and that's about it. So, I mean, I was pretty impressed with that, that's the fastest car I'd ever had up until, horsepower wise, up until my truck. Now that's way faster. But
that's awesome, buddy. Shit. And I mean, it sounds like, well, outside of like, okay, obviously wheels cost you some money, stuff like that. But like, other than labor and a couple like $275 for the motor, fucking car was free.
Yeah.
Paint product, like, you know what I mean? Just like stupid shit like that. I mean, that car is like, you could pretty much say it was free.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely money into it, but like you said, when when I first put the car together, I would probably say hard cash, my actual cash. I don't think I had more than 10, 11 grand into the car.
Yeah.
That was a running, driving, painted, Coyote Swapped car.
Yeah.
I mean, that was back in 2019. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty good. I
Oh,
mean,
Yeah, 'cause,
God,
like,
yeah.
your average Coyote swap's 20 G's,
yeah,
right? The
yeah,
reality of it. Like if you're not doing it, right? So you're in it,
yeah,
you're running and driving and swapped and painted and everything for half that. So you're doing
yeah,
all right.
yeah. And that's how I felt. I was pretty happy with it, and now since 2019, there's been a lot more that's happened to the car, and there's a lot more money into it now.
Right.
I mean, just the Silver Sport transmission. I mean, they did so much, and that worked out really well too. That ended up being another trade deal.
Right.
I'm all about the trade deals if I can, but I ended up painting a Corvette for that. I ended up not
Oh, yeah.
even having to come off any cash for it. But I mean, just that was like a $7,000 transmission setup that they put in that car.
Right.
And
And you mentioned TKX and T56 earlier. Which one is in it?
so it's got a T56 in it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's got a 6-speed, the Magnum. It's got a hydraulic clutch. It's got, I believe, a Ram clutch of some sort in it. It's got their shifter, because they have it's called like a STX shifter, the Silver Sport Transmissions shifter. It's a really nice shifter. Then there was an aluminum dry shaft they had custom made for the car, and with that transmission, that engine, and then the rear end, the gear ratio, I got 373 gears in that car. The first time I drove it to Foxtoberfest, because I drove it one of the times to Foxtoberfest, I was getting 31.7 miles to the gallon.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Holy.
ridiculous. I mean, I drove like 600 miles on one tank of gas in that car. Just
Unreal.
cruising along. I mean, 70, 75 miles an hour, 80 at times,
Yeah.
and I was like, holy crap, this is impressive,
Yeah.
So,
You gotta love
Oh,
that the 6 speeds for that, man. Cause
yeah,
like even right, like my Viper truck, which was the
yeah,
early days of T56s and like really having 6 speeds and hot rod and stuff. Yeah, like it was, I remember being able to get 20 miles per gallon
yeah,
in that truck, right? Which is like the reality now with the gears and everything else. I'm like 12 at best. But yeah, it's amazing just with that. Cause if you put it in fifth and you drove the same distance, it cut it in half.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's pretty cool. It's quite impressive. Um, that was the best I ever did. I don't know if I was, trailing on a good, downstream or what, but most of the time it's between 27 and 29 if I'm on a
Right.
trip, which
Right.
is still really, really good.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
you know,
Well, this is the thing. Like, so having my mom's pickup, which the poor fucking thing got us all the way to Tennessee and back. Now that was not ideal mileage at all. I'm still recovering from that. But that thing, like just beeling around, I've maybe put like, I don't know, 3, 4, 500 miles, like a couple tanks of fuel through it, unloaded, just like ratting around town and stuff. Fucking thing does unreal. Like great mileage. You're almost
mhm.
like, I know I drove you. Like, why hasn't the needle moved? Kind of thing, you know? Yeah, like, and to think, like in your case, like you said, things got dyno sheets to prove it. Like 4.25 horse that does 30 miles to the gallon. Like, could
Yeah,
you imagine going back in time and talking to some of the hot rodders from the 60s and saying, yeah, I
yeah,
got this 425 horse fucking big block or whatever you want to call it. They wouldn't know what a modular was at the time. Well, maybe there was the cammer, 427 cammer. But anyway, they'd tell you were full of shit. There's no way that can be done. Right. But yeah, here we are.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then so that was my big drive the first time, and then I went on Power Tour the next year, or 2022, did that. And then 2023, I did Power Tour again. That one started in Georgia. So I drove the car all the way to Georgia from Michigan to start Power Tour, and then did the entire thing, and then drove back from Bristol, Tennessee to Michigan at the end. I think I put like 3,000 miles on the car for that one. And then shortly after that, I went to Texas for the LMR cruise in, and I drove the car all the way here from Michigan, all the way to Caleb's in Tennessee first, with my cousin towing my car hauler with my truck at the time and Caleb's car in the back. He followed me to Caleb's. And then from that point on, he jumped in my car. We left my truck at Caleb's house, and Caleb hooked my trailer up. And then we drove all the way to Texas from his house. So T-Bird's been on some drives, man.
That's awesome.
So
yeah, but like, why not, right?
Yeah. Oh, we would have drove it to Pitts. I can tell you right now. But this trip was the first one I took the wife and my daughter with me. Usually it's my son that goes with me. And the kind of luggage they pack, Gary, you got women.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm glad we have a trailer.
Yeah. The kind of luggage my wife and my daughter bring. My daughter's only 10, and she brings enough luggage for 2 people. So
fuck.
It wouldn't have
and when
fit
they
in
get
the
in the vehicle, right? When they get in the truck or whatever, and you're like, do you need whatever they call them, squishies or something? Those fucking like great big, I don't know.
Squishmallows?
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Do we need 10 of these guys? What the fuck? I can't even see out the back window.
I know.
Fuck off
my
already.
daughter's got a ton of them. She's got so many of them, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, and when we were in Tennessee, any gift shop we went to, that like we went to a pirate mini golf thing. She's over there checking out the Squishmallow type. It's like, no, we're not buying those.
No, we're done with those fucking things. The other thing, actually, I've known this for a long time, but it's one of those things that, like, as guys, I think you just sort of look past and don't think about it too much. But I'm sure your guys' better halves are the same way. How women can shoehorn themselves into a passenger seat with like shit on the floor, so much so that like they literally have to cross one leg on top of the other just to fit both fucking legs in there. Like, my wife comes out. So here, this is just before we went to Tennessee. Now we got a 21-foot trailer that only has a car in it. There's still real estate that we could put shit in the trailer in, right? There's a box on the truck. Like, we could put shit back there. Nope. She's got like her purse, which I'm sure there's a fucking engine hoist in there. You know what I mean? There's everything in that fucking bag. Plus, she's got like, the reusable grocery bag that is also full of shit. And all this stuff just gets like slung in on the floor of the truck. And she kind of finds herself in there, gets her legs tucked in, slams the fucking door on like the corner of her ass. I'm like, you're going to Tennessee like that? She's like what? What are you talking about? I'm like, whatever, fuck it, let's go. Like, how do they do that? Like, I get claustrophobic.
Oh,
so
it's unbelievable.
It's funny because my wife did essentially the same thing on our trip, and we had the 2 kids in the back, much like yourself. So in the back we have, I packed, and any trip I've ever gone on, I always bring like a little cooler, some snacks and whatever, because I'm one of those types where if I don't have to stop somewhere to buy a bunch of things, I won't do it, So we have the cooler in the back. We have this one, like you just said, the reusable grocery bag thing filled with chips. And then there's that back there. And then there's another one with all the candy that the kids want. Plus, I like candy, so I'm going to eat some candy too. All that's back there. So then the kids bring all their stuff that you just said, all their blankets and pillows and computers and tablets and Squishmallows and, whatever. My son's like, this is the gaming stuff. So he's got all his gaming stuff. And then the wife she crams all her stuff in there, like you just said, but then she's got so much, it doesn't all fit there. So it's got to go in the back too with the kids. So here's the kids with their legs, all crumpled up. And it's like, you guys are going to sit like that for 10 hours. Whew.
Yeah.
And then, once it got daylight, then my wife whips this bag out and it's all her makeup and stuff. And she's in the truck doing all this. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like, come on.
There is a massive difference between guys and gals. I'm here to tell you, boys. Like, and the other thing's peeing too, right? We're like, if you've been on a proper dude's road trip, like you almost, it's almost like against the rules to even announce that you have to pee, right? Like guys will have piss coming out of their fucking tear ducts and you're not saying anything. Those gals, on the other hand, right? Or kids in general, it's just like, I gotta pee. I'm like, we just pissed. What are you talking about? No, piss your pants.
So that it's funny you say that. So my wife and daughter are that way, but now my son, any trip I've ever been on with him, like he goes on with me on Power Tour, and he went to Oktoberfest, all that stuff. We'll like stop, and it's like I don't want to stop unless I'm when I'm peeing, I'm getting gas at the same time. I've got this mapped out.
Teaming.
So we're going to do this, even if we're getting food, it's the same trip somehow. There's a McDonald's in that gas station, whatever it is. Well, we'll go to like, we may have been driving for like 3 or 4 hours, and I'm like, hey, we got to stop. We got to get some gas. I got to take a piss. And he's like, I guess I could go pee. I'm like, what? What do you mean? And we'll go to the gas station and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go inside and go to the bathroom. And I'm like, do you got to go? And he goes, well, not really, but I guess I can. I'm like, no, go. I'm like, well, we're not stopping if you don't go. So you need to go.
That's a dude's dude right there.
Yeah. So
yeah,
he works out as my my shotgun rider. So
totally. Yeah. What? Okay, so now did you guys bring the car down behind the Harley truck?
No. So, we just recently got a newer EcoBoost truck last summer, and before that, I had a 2012 Harley Davidson edition F-150. I had a newer F-150. It was a 6.2 truck, so it was like a Raptor drivetrain in that truck, and that truck sucked for tone. Like it had all the power, like balls to the wall power and torque that you wanted, but 8 miles to the gallon. No better, no worse. 8 miles to the gallon. When towing. And then if you drove it normal, 11 miles to the gallon. No better, no worse. It was terrible. So I told the wife, I said, and she wanted a new car anyway. She had an older Lincoln SUV she wanted to get rid of. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, we live in front of the shop. I don't drive anymore. And I got enough junkers, that I can drive all my crap. I don't need a truck. I said, why don't we get you a woman's truck? I said, I will get you a nice newer truck and we'll get a V6 one. We'll get an EcoBoost one. I wanted the 3.5 one. I didn't want a 2.7. And I was actually thinking about getting one of those power boost ones, those hybrid ones. But once I realized they couldn't like the towing was like half of what a normal EcoBoost one was, I was like, well, that's not going to happen because we have a camper and we have the car hauler. And, and everybody raves about how good an EcoBoost is, but they're liars, as far as I'm concerned. So we towed with that truck. And at best, 8.5 towing.
Was it?
Yeah. At best.
I heard probably just like you said about the 6.2, like it'll pull a house down, but mileage is awful.
Yeah. And that's how the EcoBoost truck was. I will say this, and I've had 5-liter F-150s as well that towed phenomenal, but they also didn't get very good gas mileage. I can tell you one thing about the EcoBoost truck is, unlike my 5-liter or my 6.2 truck, like when you're coming up to an incline or something and it downshifts and it's revving at 4,000 RPMs, Gary, I'm sure you experienced that while you were towing.
Lots.
And it's just screaming along, the EcoBoost truck, it doesn't do that. all it does is the RPMs come up a little bit. It kicks in a little bit more boost, and it's just like it goes.
Just pulls.
It just
What
pulls. I mean, it doesn't.
transmission?
It's got a 10
What
speed,
transmission? Oh,
the
okay.
10R80 behind it.
Yeah.
So, and that's my first experience towing with a 10-speed trans too. I'm not so sold on it yet because it never makes it out of like 8th gear when you're towing. It
Right.
seems like it's always like in 7th, 8th gear. It never makes it to 10.
Yeah.
And
This
I'm
one on
not.
my mom.
Yeah, your mom's
so-
side was a 6-speed, right?
Yeah. And again, like, I don't know. I've tried to sum it up for a few people because there's a few buddies out there that are kind of on the hunt for pickups, and they're like, hey man, like an F-150 is sort of what I'm considering. Like, what were your thoughts on it? And so I said, like, here's the deal. Like in prime conditions, like almost tailwind style scenarios, it's great. Like, it does not feel like it's struggling at any point. I'm like, about the only time you'd miss it or you'd notice it if you were in perfect conditions is if you're pulling a really steep grade. I said with the 6-speed, there's that real funny spot between like 2nd and 3rd gear where like 2nd gear, sure, it'll pull the hill and it'll bring you up in speed and everything. You're doing fucking 6250 RPM, like it's screaming, but then it hits 3rd and you lose everything you just gained out of 2nd. Like it needs another gear in the middle of all that where I don't know, do the 5-liter, like the new 5-liters, do they come with a 10-speed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then maybe that's better with that. Right. But
Could be.
with that 6-speed, it just, yeah. And I mean, we're not pulling a massive amount of weight here either. I actually put this with my coupe and the trailer. I put it on a scale in Alberta when we came back after the whole dyno thing, and trailer and car with whatever fuel I had in it and whatever other bullshit, I was like 5,300 pounds. So like, we're not talking, 8, 9, 10,000 pounds here. Like we're just talking, 5,200, 5,300, nothing obscene. And tow rating on those is whatever, 11, 12,000 pounds, so I'm half of what it's capable of doing. And yeah, you really need ideal conditions to be like really enjoying your time towing,
Yeah. Like I can tell you one thing. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, man. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say the only other thing too is like 5,300 pounds behind you or being towed, and I don't know, whatever those trucks weigh in at, what would they be? Just shy of 7,000 pounds, let's say. You get yourself in a crosswind and you feel like you're skating. Like, fuck around. South Dakota kicked the shit out of us. Like I drove with the wheel damn near at like 3 o'clock and the trailer's just pushing me all over the place. So this is where like 3/4 ton, 1 ton comes into play. Like, and then if you can, diesel all day, you know what I mean? Like it just, now you're checking all the boxes. You just set the cruise and go.
Well, what I was about to say was actually, it almost follows in line with what you were just saying. So on our way to Tennessee, I don't know what was going on as well, but windy as can be, man. Like windy. When it felt like there was 60-mile-an-hour winds pushing against the side of me. And this was on Monday, going the Monday before the show, because we were there the whole week, and it moved that truck around so much. I mean, my trailer is a 22-foot long enclosed. T-Bird's a little bit more heavy than a Mustang, but I have to imagine I was probably around the 6,000 to maybe we'll just say a little over 6,000 mark as well with my trailer, and that trailer moved that truck more than I think that than I ever thought it would, and that's where it felt like the a 1-ton comes more into play. And I can also say this too, towing with my steel truck, my 12, I don't know, and I know that when Ford did the steel to aluminum, they shaved like 700 or 800 pounds off the truck when they went from the one construction to the next. I can tell you that my steel truck felt more planted to the ground. It felt like it was a little bit more of an anchor, over the aluminum truck.
Yeah.
And and then this also kind of funny. Another note: we got a camper. We got a ultralight. It's a 28-foot Jayco.
Yep.
Bumper pole. When I bought that thing, we went to like this camper show, and I wanted an ultralight because we had a travel trailer like this before this, but it was a heavier one. It was not an ultralight, and it was a little bit longer. And the sales guy at this camper show is like, and he was like Middle Eastern, so he was like really he was kind of pushing us to sell, and it was kind of funny the way he was talking and kind of like his pitch,
Yep.
and he's like, well, what kind of vehicle do you got? And I said, well, I got an F-150, and he's like, well, what engine does it have? And I said, well, it's got it's a 6.2 liter, and he goes, well, that's like a 5 liter. He goes that could tow like 12,000 pounds, and I said, yeah, I understand that. I go, but I want an ultralight. And he goes, yeah, but why? We can get you, we can get you into this. This is much bigger, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable towing something that's 10,000 pounds. You don't understand. I understand the truck says it will tow this, but I want an ultralight. And he's like, and I finally settled on one. And our camper is around, I think it's like 6,400 pounds dry, or no, loaded actually. It's less than that dry. And he's like, I don't know why you buy something so small. He's like, it can tow so much more. He goes, look at the ratings. And I'm like, I don't care what the ratings are. You towed it with it, and you tell me how you feel. I don't feel safe. I don't have a 1 ton.
It's so true. The best way I can sum it up for anybody out there kind of wondering the feeling of like yarding with a half ton, something like an enclosed trailer in wind like that. It's like riding a pedal bike with bent rims. Like you just, you feel like you're just all over the place. You're like, fuck. And then, you're on the interstate. So, freight trucks start coming by you with 53-foot vans. And you're like, oh, fuck, here we go, right? I'm going into their lane. I'm coming out of mine. I'm overcorrecting. And I tow a lot of trailers. This isn't my first rodeo. Fuck, man. I was white knuckled to the max on that trip.
It's funny because the first time I ever towed far, I remember getting in the truck and I'm like, oh, this is good, and I get on the freeway and I accelerate right to 70, and I'm like, oh shit, and I'm like, I got 400 more miles to do this, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I'm like, I slow it down to 60. I'm like telling the wife, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do this. Then you just get used to it, and then you just start driving.
You do, yeah. It's funny though, like you say about the salesmen and stuff like that. I always kind of laugh at that stuff because I don't claim to know everything in the world or whatever, but when you start talking to somebody that just heard that in the sales meeting and they're trying to sell you on this, that, and you're like, listen, dude, like you said, I've had the big trailer. I know what it's like when traffic just decides it's going to stop and we're all doing 60 miles an hour and I've got both feet through the firewall trying to stop this fucking freight train. No, okay, we're not going there again. Been there, done that, They just, I don't know, ratings and real life experience are two different things completely, Yeah, we used to have a fifth wheel holiday trailer, and we were coming home from a summer little getaway. Went away and camped for a week, and we were on a single track mountain road in kind of a pass, and we come around a corner, and all of a sudden, everything stopped, going both directions. Now I'm like, oh fuck! So both feet to the floor. I can't even squeal tires. I'm my fifth wheel with all the shit we had in it. We were 15, 16,000 pounds. Nothing is stopping. So, okay, everybody hold on. We're going to take her to the shoulder. So into the shoulder I go. And now I'm passing people on the wrong side of me, right? And I'm like, sorry. We come to the stop. Holy fuck. Okay, we're safe. Everyone's alive. I'll be damned, dude, if a big rig, a couple vehicles behind me, doesn't do the same thing on the other side of me yet. Like, so I'm in the shoulder and now he's even further in the shoulder trying to fucking stop his load too. This is how
Jeez.
fast traffic stopped on this deal, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, okay, there's trucks out there that can do it, and there's trailers out there that big and whatever. But like when it comes to emergency stopping, like I knew right then and there, I'm like, there's no fucking way that you could stop if you really had to, because I just tried it and it didn't work. Like you cannot stop like you are unloaded. And that truck that I had at the time was capable of, air quote, capable of towing way more weight, but can you stop it? No.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. That's a whatever rabbit hole in itself, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely am thinking about a bigger truck after
Mm.
this last trip. But then again, I go back to, do I even need a truck again? You know, again, I don't drive. And if I'm buying a bigger truck, my wife ain't gonna drive that around. You know,
Yeah.
she'd rather be in a smaller car, if anything. So I think we'll just stick it out with what we got and make it work for a
Yeah.
little while longer.
Yeah.
Well,
So
the worst part about it, right, is like guys like us, you know, we could find a way to justify to ourselves, like, oh, you know, like maybe I'll get myself like a, I don't know, OBS Ford with a 7.3, and because those are sick trucks, like one of the better looking body styles out there, you know. And it's like, yeah, maybe I could find one for cheap. Well, then it's like, okay, yeah, but we're gonna do these long hauls with it. I better sink a bunch of money into it to bulletproof the shit out of it. Like, and next thing you know, you've got what's over your shoulder right there, right? Which was a free car that's now a $30,000 car in parts. Like,
yeah.
you know, so like, what's the real? I don't know what the answer to all this is.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
or are we
my
just
thoughts were, you know, you make the Harley truck a tow rig, but I don't want to tow with that.
Yeah.
so
You know?
weren't the Harley trucks a lot like the Lightnings? Like, didn't they have a shit tow rating on them?
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, the
I
Lightning
think
is
it was,
not bad. Well, the
yeah,
Harley wouldn't be bad either. They were actually the SRT 10s have horrible tow ratings.
yeah,
Like my manual, it's 0.
yeah. So I
But
think I think that was around like 7,500 back in the day, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
was it
yeah,
one of the blower ones too?
Yeah,
Supercharged ones?
yeah,
See,
yeah. I actually have a story for you when it comes to those and towing. Um, so the main reason I have that truck is when I was in high school, well, actually middle school and high school, my dad bought one of those brand new.
hmm.
And that's the truck I learned to drive in. So when I got
Oh,
my
cool.
permit, I drove one of those, and it was an O2 supercharged one. So that's what I got to learn to drive in, was my dad's O2 Harley truck, supercharged truck. And I drove that truck to prom with my current, my wife now. And
Nice.
it was a pretty badass truck to become rolling into, your high school prom in a blown, all blacked out, tinted up truck. But
Yeah.
but my dad used to tow their camper with his truck, and he'll claim that it was the best tow vehicle he ever had. And he had, like, his transmission was built. He had, different pulleys and chips, and his truck was like 500 and something horsepower he was pushing. He's towing their 30-foot travel trailer behind it. I remember going to it was Graceland. I don't is Graceland in Tennessee? Or is that, I don't know where that's at exactly. Wherever
Yeah.
Elvis
Isn't it
is,
near
Graceland.
Memphis?
Is it Memphis area? Might be.
I think. Well, Graceland, like Elvis, like
Yeah,
Graceland, right? Yeah, I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it is. Yeah.
Well, he towed our travel trailer with his Harley truck to Graceland. I was probably like a freshman in high school, and I remember him cruising on the freeway at like 100 miles an hour, and in one of them trucks, towing the camper, just hauling past people. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, why are we going so fast? He's like, this thing handles like it's on rails. I'm like, Dad, you're crazy. I've never. And because he always tells me, why are you towing with that? That's going to be the best truck you've ever had. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't have, brass balls like you do. I would never do that.
Yeah.
But I do know they can tell, but
Right. No, I always thought, I know Chris and I asked you about this one time, buddy, there with your between the Lightning, and I remember you telling me the SRT 10 says no tow, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, somebody somewhere passed this information along to me. It must have been bogus, but it was that, like the tow rating is like, you can pull a fucking U-built trailer full of brush to the dump with it. That's about it, is all that I ever thought them to be capable of.
Because I towed, man, I'd have to like try and look at pictures. It was probably like a 12 to 14 foot horse trailer, like loaded with my shit from Texas on my fucking C notch in 23s. Like, yeah, 30 series rubber all the way from Texas back to Ontario. No problem. Like overdrive off. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Kind of same thing, but like the 4R100's a fucking beastly transmission. Like they used it forever. It's still the same transmission in the truck today, believe it or not. Has a shift kit in it. Did all that. Dude, it didn't skip a beat. And I got like 9-10 miles a gallon. Like, which in the grand scheme of things, when I'm used to getting 14, 15 and to have that wasn't horrible.
No. So, okay, Adam, that thing's got a Coyote in it now, the Harley?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's got a Gen 2 out of a 17 F-150 in it, I believe. And it's got a 6R80 behind it. So basically the same exact engine and transmission that's in your mom's truck, probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's cool.
And it's got what's that?
I was gonna say the thing I always loved about the Harleys is like dual console, 4 buckets.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of the pimpin' truck in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why I drove the one to prom,
Oh.
But yeah, that one, so that's an 03. It's the 100th anniversary, and it's called a Shamu because it's the silver and black, I really wanted an 02. I wanted one just like the one my dad had, just because memories, I thought was cool.
Yeah.
But I actually sold that. So that 79 Capri I was telling you guys about.
Yeah.
I turned 30 years old and I figured I was going through what I called a quarter life crisis. And I sold it like just out of the blue. And I took all the cash and bought that truck. And I thought, we're going to reclaim some memories, of the truck that, like my dad had. And like I said, I wanted an all black one, but I got that one. I got a really good deal on it. And it came from Texas, actually. It was a co-part buy from Texas and then came all the way up here. And I had a different dealer buddy actually buy it, and then they shipped it to him, and then I picked it up from him. But
nice.
But yeah, it had like 150,000 miles on it. It actually had a pop spark plug. It blew a spark plug out of it. So fixed it and then drove it around, and then that motor went kaput, put a different motor in it, then blew that one up, and now it's this. And this actually has a Roush blower on it too. So that supercharged emblem still means something on the fender.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's just a fucking little hot rod then.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much horsepower it actually has. I mean, but I know it's got to have more than that car. So, I mean, it is a total tire frying machine. I mean, you can step on it down the road and it will not stop.
Right.
So,
did they come 4-wheel drive? No, they were all 2-wheel, right?
Yeah, they were 2-wheel drive.
Yep. Right. For some reason I wanted to say, like, I had it in my head that there was an all-wheel drive option
the
or something.
The newer ones were. So like I believe 04 and 05, I don't think they actually had an F-150 Harley truck. They had a Super Duty that you could get in a Harley model, I believe.
Yep.
And then in 06, they came back out with a Harley F-150, and it was an all-wheel drive one. And not all of them came this way, I don't think, but I know that there was an option to have a Roush blower on them. So you could get a Roush blower on an 06 through 08, I believe. But they were all-wheel drives, and they were the 3-valve 5.4.
And then 04, because 04 was the transition year, right? Like the Lightning was still the old body style.
Yeah, but it was the
everything
new
non-Lightning was new.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was no 04 Harley truck in that body style or the new style. And then in 9, I don't know if they had a Harley model, but then 10 they came back out with, and I think it was 10 that came back out, and it was a 5.4 naturally aspirated all-wheel drive, and you could get them in all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive, and then 11 and 12 were two-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and they were 6.2s. So, and they were naturally aspirated, because my 12 was a naturally aspirated 6.2 all-wheel drive. And then I lowered it, because that's what you do with all-wheel drive trucks is you lower them, because it's a sport truck. It shouldn't be lifted. I mean, you don't lift a Harley truck. You lower a Harley truck. As a matter of fact, Mario, he had one and he lowered his too. And that's how I got the idea to lower mine. I seen Mario's truck and I'm like, I'm lowering my Harley truck, my all-wheel drive truck.
Right.
So, yeah.
My mom actually, so other than this truck that I've borrowed of hers, she's got a 2007 Lincoln Mark LT or whatever they called that thing. Right? Yeah. And she actually called me like just before we got on tonight, and she goes, "Garrett, I think I'm going to sell it." I'm like, "Really? Like that was kind of your, like, not your dream truck or whatever, but like it was." She always thought very highly of it, right? And she goes, "Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, what the hell do I need 2 trucks for and all this stuff?" I'm like, "Yeah, but that was kind of a neat truck, and it's actually like the pearl white one, so it's kind of nice in that regard." And she goes, "Yeah, tell your buddies." I'm like, "Fuck, you don't even see these things around anymore." And outside of the badging, like it's just a half-ton pickup, like there's really nothing special about them. But yeah, she's thinking about parting ways with it. Fucking thing's got like 50,000 miles on it or something.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't see those ones. When in 05, when those came out, one of my aunts actually bought one. She bought a black one. And it was a really nice truck, but it was, I mean, in all honesty, it was basically a Lariat F-150 with, different grill, different badging on the sides. They had like the chrome on the bottom of the truck, I think.
Yep.
Something like that. Still nice, but
no, that's just it. And it was around, like it was in and around that time. Maybe it was the Lincoln that was the first one to do it, and then the non-Lincoln F-150s followed after, but they got like the center console shift. It was like, whoa, right? We're off the column now. We're going big time here,
Yeah, because those were the motors to get, right? The Navigator 5.4s, which I had one. That's what I was supposed to put in my Lightning, because I had one that was built with designed for a twin turbo setup, and then I just scrapped that because I actually wanted to drive the truck. But
right,
it was like a 2-year option. And I remember all the guys were like, "Oh no, you need to get that block with that setup."
But here's the thing, buddy. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong on this, but like I think that this is Mom's truck is just a standard 5.4. Like I don't think there was.
Yeah.
I don't think there was
my
anything
aunt had
fancy. But the SUV Lincoln.
Yeah, the SUV thing. So it's only that, which I think there was only 2 years of it.
Oh, like the Navigator, right?
Yeah.
The Navigator had the 4-valve in it, a 4-valve 5.4, and then the truck, like my aunt's, was a 5.4 3-valve, kind of the one you wouldn't want, I don't think.
Right. Well, and me and my buddies used to kind of joke about this back when, like, the very initial iterations, the Escalade came out, and it was like, you're just buying a fucking Tahoe with a an Escalade badge on it. Like, it doesn't have the North Star motor. Like, it's nothing.
Because Sean
And
Paul
now-
made it cool.
Yeah. Right. Funny enough though, okay, boys, do you remember this mod from back in the day when you would take an Escalade grill and put it on like, a lower half-ton pickup?
Oh
I
yeah.
just seen one the other day. I'm like, fuck, I haven't seen that in ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, so my first vehicle was a 91 Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a single cab, a 7-foot box. So it was the long bed. And I did all the mini truck things to it because it was a 2-wheel drive. So it was lowered. I shaved the door handles on it. All the things Chris was just talking about earlier in the what we were just BSing about. And it had underglow on it. And it was a 4-cylinder stick shift truck. And I used to get in the mail those Styling Concept magazines when you could buy all the parts for your trucks. And I remember on the covers of those books, there would be the OBS Chevy truck or GMC Sierra with the complete Cadillac Escalade conversion on the front of it. And they sold those whole front end conversions in that Styling Concepts catalog. Like $2,800, you get the fenders, the hood, the grill, the bumper, the headlight, and put it on your OBS truck. So
yeah. Well, and then the other thing was throwing like Cadillac taillights in a pickup, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shaving those in.
Yep.
It's
I know,
funny,
like-
right? Like how some things became like a timeless mod. Like I remember the E36 M3 mirrors started going on everything. M3 mirrors on your Civic,
Yeah.
M3 mirrors on your Nissan, M3 mirrors on whatever. You know what I mean? Like
I did it on my Ranger. So you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. So did you ever watch Pimp My Ride?
oh yeah.
Okay, so when I first got my license, like literally right when I was building my truck, one of the episodes they did a Ranger. It was orange. And they shaved the door handles. They literally did everything I was already doing to my truck. And it was like, I'm not copying them. I already was doing it, Well, the one thing I copied them on is I seen them do it because the Ranger always had that little pedestal mirror that bolted like a convertible Mustang, and came out. And I always thought that was like the goofiest looking thing. Like it didn't fit with the flow of the truck, Well, on that episode, they took and they basically welded like a bracket in the door, like kind of in the corner, like the corner of the glass. They made like a piece, and they bolted a set of those. They were designed for a newer Ranger, like a 94 and up, but they were the M3 BMW style mirrors, and I seen it and I thought, man, them fit good. So I made a bracket and I modified it and I bought those exact mirrors and bolted them to my truck. And I had the lights lit up in them and everything. They lit up blue on the little turn signals and shit.
Yeah, and they would always come with so the mirrors were generic, but the plate, so it was always a 2-piece. You know what I mean? So whoever caught on to that, made a mint. Because it was just the plate that they would have to build off of. Like that Lexus IS 300 taillights, the round ones in the trunk.
Yep.
That was one a lot of guys caught onto. And I think that's like what started the Lexuses and actually the Lightnings, right? In 01 and up, having the Euro taillights. Started all that fucking nonsense.
Oh yeah. My Ranger had the M3 style mirrors, and they were the imitation carbon fiber with the painted bases. It had the Euro headlights, it had Euro tail lights in it, had blue underglow underneath it.
Holy!
I had a roll paint on the back.
You have 5 Series Halo rings on the headlights too?
No, I did not have that. But I like on that truck, it was kind of cool because I did a roll pan on the back, and like the tailgate was completely shaved, so it didn't have the indent where it said Ford anymore,
Yeah.
And I had like a limited Explorer grill in it, and then a limited Explorer bumper cover on the front of it. I don't know if you remember those old limiteds that they had, like a 1-piece cover. Had that on the front of the Ranger, and it was all lowered down with some.
Plate?
What's that?
Did you do the
Oh,
crooked
no.
license plate?
So you're going to laugh because I put a roll pan on it that had it. And then I ended up buying another tailgate and I bought a smooth skin with the curved thing, the curved license plate. And I was going to put that together and put it on the truck. And then I ended up selling the truck before I ever put that on. But yeah, that was my high school truck, my mini truck days. I thought that was cool as can be. And you're gonna laugh. I actually pulled the drivetrain out of it and stuck a V6 out of an XR7 Cougar in it with a supercharger on it in it.
Really?
That would have
It
been a
had
good
a T.
upgrade.
Yeah, I put a T5 in it from a V6 Mustang, and then changed all the pedals to like a cable style setup, like a Mustang, and they had that 3.8 liter V6 in it with that M90 supercharger on it, and I
Yeah.
hogged the grill out and stuck a JDM universal intercooler behind the grill, made all the piping and shit.
Yeah, because the 3.8s are essentially a 5-liter with 2 cylinders chopped off.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
same
pretty
bell
much.
housing, same everything.
Oh
Just
yeah,
bolt and go. Yeah.
yeah. I did that, and I was on the quest to make my truck more like a Mustang, when in reality I should have just sold it and bought a Mustang. So that's what I did the moment I graduated high school. Like literally the last day of school, I sold the truck and bought a convertible Mustang that day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. I know, because I guess it was sort of being done. I never seen anyone around the parts that I grew up in, but I did see it in the mags where like guys were 5-liter swapping Rangers and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was way more popular to drop like a small block Chevy and an S10.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there was a few of those running around. But I wonder if Bondo's sales have gone down since the 90s. Because when you like Chris talking about like the fucking cockeyed license plate and stuff,
Yeah.
like the amount of Bondo in those vehicles is just obscene.
All the
Oh, yeah.
molding body kits in
Yeah.
and all that, like the amount of fiberglass and Bondo in 90s and 2000s,
Oh yeah.
like just unreal. Like I remember like going to the car shows too, and you could just like waving at you like the fucking ocean down the side. You know what I mean? Just
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
no, we fuck the block sanding, just get the car done. We need to make it to the show. You know what I mean? Make sure the stereo sounds good, and it'll fucking crack the Bondo. It's gonna hammer so loud.
Yeah.
It's
That's
true.
funny.
I've told this story a few times on here, but I think it's been a little while. A friend of mine that actually he had a really pretty 69. The only knock on this, and it's not really a knock anymore, but it kind of was at the time, 69 GMC. So 4 headlights in the front, and it was a long bed too, but like really, really, really clean truck. And a guy he bought it from had redone it all. I think he bought it like all redone, little 327 in it stuff for like $7,000, which just you can't even get your head around buying a shit one for that these days, Anyway, he was on a quest to like start kind of mini trucking this thing. He had ran a few transmissions through it, put a slap shift on the floor, and I said, listen, dude, if you're going to do anything, like let someone else have this like still somewhat beautiful truck and fuck around with something else, right? That's like not like a 69 GM. Anyway, he ends up buying a 2001 extended cab, but I think in 01 or maybe it was 02. Anyway, it was just like the start of like rear doors opening, right? Where you had like the suicide extra cab door. So he buys this pickup. It's fucking slammed and it's got 20s on it. No one could get their head around how big these wheels were. Like we'd never seen anything so enormous in our whole lives. 20-inch wheels. And the guy that he bought it from, it had these 20s on it already. He's like, yeah, I spent like $15,000 or something on these wheels and tires, Now production cars come with them. Like it's the cheapest tire to buy out there is a 20 right now because they're on fucking everything. And at that point in time, he had the biggest wagon wheels in town, But this was, again, another Bondo mobile, shaved this, fucking license plate sideways through the tailgate, everything. It was so fucking low and ridiculously low. I'd see that guy on the highway. And I grew up in a really small town, so not a lot of cars on the highway. You'd see them coming down the road at night, and it was just a spark show coming off the frame of that truck, like hitting the ruts of the road and shit. Yeah.
All right,
Fuck,
here.
those are good times.
Just for let me I actually found a couple pictures from Import Fest 2003.
Oh, I like it.
Man.
Let's see.
Oh man.
Oh,
Oh,
the body filler.
oh yeah, look at that.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
I think it was a Miata. God knows what it got turned into.
Wow.
The old Preludes with the white
Yeah.
interior. Like straight
Look
up
at that.
Fast and Furious. Look at that. So speaking, like, that would have been probably 22s on that in 03. Like, that was a ballin' truck right there.
Yeah.
Oh
old
my
Cupra?
God.
Yeah, Supra. Was that
Orange,
Civic?
white,
Yeah.
a Civic, yeah. Look at trophies on it too.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh,
Was that a
Like some
Celica?
of these bumpers, right? You just wonder what were people thinking.
Ah.
the bigger the better, man, right? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, so this was actually my buddy's car. So plexiglass molded hood.
Okay.
And
what did it say? What did it say at the like the wiper cal there? If it ain't altered, there's a sticker on it.
it ain't shit.
Yeah.
Hot air intake.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So there's
What
your
was the
Lexus.
deal with the deck lids like that, man?
I know, right? And you know what's the crazy thing to get the deck lids to do that? It was literally door hinges.
Huh.
And like, however, you would just literally screw the door hinge in, it would give it this ability to like flop and do all these stupid things. But the neat thing is it allowed you to show off your trunk.
Yeah.
Right. So this one was on full air and all his stuff there, all airbrushed interior.
Look at the subs.
I think that was like Phoenix Gold shit too.
Yeah. The
Yeah, no,
money
there's
tied
a
up
few.
in these things, hey?
Yeah, and obviously the Lambo doors. That was the.
Yep.
And I remember it got to the point where Lamborghini didn't have Lambo doors anymore. It was like a protest. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
Oh.
I got a story about the Lambo doors actually on a Honda. So when I graduated high school, I went to it was a school in Indianapolis called Lincoln Tech. I don't know if you've ever
Okay.
heard of that. It was one of the only schools that did collision work. You know, that was within a certain distance from where I lived here in Michigan. But anyway, I got there, and then you dorm up with other guys, other students, and my roommate actually had a '98 Civic, and it was he was into the Fast and the Furious thing, so he was very much into that kind of scene right there, and it was like a pearl red paint job on it, molded in body kit. Big old fart can on the back, no performance upgrades whatsoever to the engine in any way or form. All, coilovers and drop down and big wheels and tires. Well, it had Lambo doors. And I don't know what kind of kid he had, but I don't know if you've ever been in any other car that's got those like universal type kits. Well, you had to be super precise when you would pull that door down.
Oh yeah.
Because if you went to close it just wrong, you'd smoke the body kit, or you'd smoke the bottom of the rocker, or you'd hit the window, run up against the roof. And his car had so many bumps and bruises on both sides from people not aware of how to actually open or close it. It was god awful.
I remember like as soon as you would open the door, it would kind of get like this, it would jump up and down, right? Because there's so much weight on that abomination of a hinge that somehow, somebody managed to get it to work. But yeah, it was like this whole open and then like lift
Kick
and pull
up,
thing. And same thing, the reverse. You couldn't just kind of like, it was not a smooth motion by any means.
Yeah, and then it was actually funny too because I had another guy that I ended up being buddies with. His name was Brad, and he was actually from Michigan, and he ended up buying this Mustang. It was a '96 4.6 GT car, and it was done up much like those cars you just showed us, and it had Lambo doors on it. It had full air ride on it too. It was the first Mustang I've actually ever seen with air ride, but it was an SN95 car, and it was like a two-tone paint job, like at the body line right there below the mirror. Which honestly, that's the best part to two-tone those SL95 cars, I think. Unless you do from the roof line up, those are pretty cool too when you do like just the roof and stuff. But either way, it had those Lambo door hinges on it, and that was the first thing after he bought the car, because Indianapolis is a. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Indianapolis, but there is a huge car scene out in Indianapolis, and it's of all sorts. I mean, it could be donk cars or bubbles or lowered trucks or your tuners. I mean, there was everything out there when I was there. And that was the first thing he pulled off the car was the door hinges. And we put stock Mustang. We went to a U-Pull yard and pulled all the door hinges off of a normal Mustang and put them on this car for him. It did it right in the shop. One of the shop days.
Yeah.
And he could not give those hinges away. Nobody wanted to buy them. It was kind of funny.
It must have been like, now that I'm thinking about this, because there was like that weird cutoff point where when you buy aftermarket stuff, like talking about like in those coilovers, right? Like I remember eBay kits or whatever, like $200 you're riding on coilovers, and it was the stupid sleeve conversion thing.
Yep.
And you turn your wheel, they clank and bang, and some guys still run that shit on their Fox bodies. So, but with that said, like everything like went to for off-road use only. Because I remember, right, like DOT stamp, like your headlights aftermarket were DOT, your springs or whatever had DOT, or like some sort of compliance stuff behind them. And then I think the tuner scene came in with such a storm that it was like, okay, let's change the narrative here and let's just make anything as cheap and as shitty as it can be legal. And I mean, like really thinking about like the EPA, like safety stuff, concerns and whatever, like rightfully so to a certain extent. Like when you really think about it, when all this stuff started hitting the market, because like a lot of stuff was not safe or safely built during those days. Like talk about those
Very
doors.
hokey.
Like you get in an accident and somebody needs to try and pull you out of the car. Like I get it. You know what I mean? Like there's a little bit, you got shaved door handles or whatever it is, like, the whole roll bar thing, you hit your head off the roll bar. Like there is some justification to some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, when you think about like, I'm no Lambo expert, but I mean, any of those cars, for as long as they've had doors like that, like it's this whole like monocoque cab. Well, it's like the whole fucking thing's like a fuselage. And like when you open those doors, they're like 18 inches thick at the base. Like they've actually got something to close against. You go and throw those on one of these, like there's nothing there. And not only that, like nothing's designed to move up and down. It's designed to move east-west.
Well, and that's why those kits would have to open out and then go up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the whole get it past the fender. And then, you know what I mean? Versus, and then, it's still closing on the factory striker. So, right, like there's no way that like a Lambo, it's all designed, you know what I mean, to work and shut and close or whatever. Even the Lincoln, the suicide doors, they were designed to be compliant and to work. No, not some generic one Lambo door hinge fits all.
Yeah. We weren't putting M3 mirrors on everything.
Hey, at least there was side markers. If there was anything, everybody was putting side markers on their cars, whether it was on the M3 mirrors or you were drilling out the fender so you could get that shitty fucking China light in there.
Oh yeah, I put a set of those APC. Remember APC, which you don't even see that stuff anymore. Little European marker lights on my now wife's 97 Cavalier. Way back when we were in high school. So
stealing cues from the import stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. it's quite wild. Like it makes me wonder, like, imagine the three of us, let's say like this whole Lambo door aftermarket thing had never taken place. And all we knew is that, hey, Lambo doors are kind of cool. And we think other people might think they're cool. Let's the three of us sit down with a fucking napkin and a piece of paper and try and map out how we could engineer a hinge setup that you could put this on anything. Like,
Right.
that makes my head hurt to try and think that through right here, right now. Even though kits have been made, Lambo does it, whatever, it really truly makes my head hurt. Like, especially when you want to try to produce a air quote quality product and not have this thing be hokey. Like,
Man, I remember being at like car shows and people have them up and like it'd be windy.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like the doors are flapping and stuff. People are like, go shut them. Same thing with like the trunk hinges, right? Like nothing was built like for strength or durability.
longevity.
It was all just for show. Like 100%. Like, and even going back to air ride, right? So it went coilovers in that blue Civic that I showed you with the outfitted in the trunk. So he had the air cylinders, which I don't even think exist anymore, right? So it was like just like an air shock, a glorified air shock, right? So it was like no spring aspect of it. So it was almost like, yeah, and if you were low on air, it was like riding on fucking washers or just like nothing. But like somehow that shit was legal, but they moved faster. It was sort of like, I guess like hydraulics would be, just with using air instead, right? And that was the guy that I was telling you ran nitrogen instead of air. So it would be that much faster, and then the valves would freeze and the car would be stuck until the valves defrosted.
Oh my God. Yeah. It really makes you wonder how a lot of us are even here to still tell the stories, I mean, I never did anything that crazy, but I know we've said this many times on here before too. Like, I have in my younger years wired things that probably should have started fires and operated that way for extended periods of time. And I'm still here to tell you this with all of my layers of skin and everything else. They never burnt down. Through some sheer strike of luck, somebody was smiling on me, but like, I don't know. There was a lot of hillbillying done in the day.
And again, going back to those tuner cars, all for show. Think of the TV screens, the PlayStations fucking wired in. That was the big thing. Manage your air ride with a fucking PlayStation controller, right?
Yeah.
All of the headlights, the marker lights, the mirror lights, the retrofit this light into this thing. Let's make our own HID things, and you know what I mean? Cooking the headlights in the oven to open them up, and like that's where all those cars went. They burnt down.
Well, probably, dude. But like the part of it all, like from a really cool perspective, and this is something that any of us that lived through the 90s can hang our hats on, is like there was definitely a ton of innovation. Granted, it was hokey in a lot of respects, right? But a ton of just out of the box thinking.
And true like personalization and reflection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they were all individual. Like there wasn't the black notch with 17-inch chrome ponies. Like everything was like the color needs to be different. I can be the only one with these wheels. I can be the only one who shaved this out or did that. Like, yeah, there were the go-to M3 mirrors and blah, blah, blah. But like the goal or the objective was to be different than the next guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, remember the teddy bear wheel and stupid shit like that? Like, you would never, well, now we all remember it, and like no one, maybe you'd run them as a joke if you could find a set, but like that's a pretty good example of how crazy things got. Like, you would literally have a fucking teddy bear spoked wheel just to be different,
Yeah.
Yeah. It it's kind of, I don't know. I can't really explain like the psychology surrounding that, right? Because we've gone from like the 90s and into some of the 2000s where it was just this steep curve, and so much of it was being done by like just pure enthusiasts in their own garage, right? Going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with Bondo, but I'm going to figure it out. Let's do this, shave that, whatever, and going to these shows, right? And now we've come down the other side where like there's a little bit of that going on, but definitely nowhere near as much. And we've gone to, like you say, like I like a black notch with 17-inch ponies, but just Manila, right? Like safe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like we need some outrageous. We need Wet Fox Vert and his
Yeah.
fucking 16
Yeah.
turbos ran down the underneath of his car, you know?
You know, I was wondering if we were going to see him at Foxtoberfest last year, and I didn't see him.
I don't think anybody's heard from the fucking guy, dude. Like
Yeah.
last time we
haven't
had him on
even
the
seen-
pod, he was out with his baby and a stroller and he was FaceTiming us.
Yeah.
No, he was driving.
Yeah,
No,
he was
he
doing
was
his
at a-
mobile repairs or whatever.
Yeah,
he was
sorry.
working on.
We
Yeah.
seen him at Foxtoberfest with the stroller.
Okay.
Well, man, the
But-
next Foxtoberfest, which I don't think you were there for, he was walking around with a fucking watermelon and a fucking scream knife.
I remember you talking about this. Yes. Yeah, I wasn't for that one. I wasn't there. So,
Oh, yeah, that was an interesting sight. It was just like, I get the watermelon, but like nobody needs to be walking around with like a butcher knife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was just odd.
Right.
Yeah.
But regardless of all that, the creativity, right?
Yeah.
And I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's painting shit gold and white and not sure which direction he's going. And I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, it's just yeah, I get it that like that stuff's not for everybody, but I don't think there's too many people that even the like staunch purists that don't look back on the 90s and sure giggle just like we do, but like there is a huge component of you if you're a true enthusiast that looks at that and goes like, hats off, boys, you know?
I think
Everybody was hustling.
the closest thing I can think of, and I don't know his name, he's just kind of popped up on numerous Facebook posts, is this dude who's like painted his car via rattle cans and like the deep
Oh,
or the ember
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like the amount of money he spent in rattle cans, it's like you could have fucking painted that car twice over with like, but like he's just going to try and prove the point and doing like the custom fender shit and trying this and that. And like he's gotten, I think it was like a lot of people were skeptical at first, and then you know a lot of people are like, oh, okay, this is like relatable in the garage type stuff, and like it's been more acceptable. But I think a lot of the problem is like you start going too far outside of the box, or you pick the wrong canvas, if you will. Like, man,
Yeah.
this Chris Butler guy trying to sell his fucking Calypso notch that's
Oh,
on
yeah.
Air Ride. That just he's just started a YouTube channel just to blast the haters. And
Yeah.
it's like, why that car and that guy all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Just because the car's on air and it's original paint, but the bumper cover's faded. Like, and maybe he's asking a lot of money, but you guys don't see the value in it. Like, why the hate all of a sudden? You know what I mean? It's just, if the car didn't have air ride, I bet you it probably would have been a different narrative.
dude,
And
Yeah.
that's
this
the
is
bad part.
this is breaking my heart. I've talked to the guy that's painting that car with rattle can a couple times. Fuck, he's a great dude too. Like I've
His
DM'd
name
with
is
him.
Andrew.
Right. Okay, maybe
Andrew.
that'll help me. We got to mention his
Andrew
name.
Mondu or Mundu or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. He was on the
oh,
Asylum
Drew.
podcast.
Oh, okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, maybe I got this wrong now.
Yeah, he's changed the color up on that car, I think, twice now.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Drew_spec is his Instagram handle.
Yes. Yes.
And dude, actually, okay, like whatever. I really like the color. The color is cool. I've watched his reels because they're quite from someone that, you know, isn't afraid to get their fucking hands dirty themselves. You have to admire the direction that he's committed to going here, right? And I think he might be down in Florida or something, because looking at like kind of the back patio area where he's like drying his fenders and shit, it's like
Yeah.
screened in patio, like trying to keep the fucking iguanas out and stuff. And he's like fully transparent, like, hey, I got some orange peel in this one, right?
Mhm.
Or this one, and then he's gonna teach himself how to cut and buff and wet sand and stuff. It's like, fuck yes, dude. Like, this is awesome. And he's wide bodied that thing. Like, the other side of it too, I should maybe like have this conversation in person before I like go down this fucking road I want to right now. Like, it seems to me as though like he cares, but he doesn't really give a shit. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
he's just like, hey, we're doing it. Like, whatever. And it seems to me like it's turning out quite well. Well, Tom and John have had him, and Jesse have had him on the
Yeah.
Asylum Pod. Yeah, like fucking rights. I'm glad you brought that guy up, because that is a really good indication of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but that's
Mhm.
the problem. We only got like him, and maybe there's like a small handful of others. Like, I think we brought this up on the last pod or something else. Like, are we becoming the MCA guys,
I know. I hope
right?
not.
That are making the younger generation not want to. Well, maybe they're doing it and we don't see it. And I hope there's people doing stuff, but like it's unfortunate because yeah, I could just see any,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like, unless it's like a hot girl doing it, unfortunately, social media is real tough, and
Yeah.
it's like you start doing something outside of the norm and it's like, no, what are you doing? Can't do
Well,
that.
I brought this up at the house the one night too, right? Where post dinner, everybody's full tummies having some drinks. And I'm like, are we turning into the old guys here? Because we're kind of like shitting on the S550s and stuff. And it's like, we all have a story of like pulling into a Cars and Coffee, and all the boys with their 64 and a halves are like, beat it, loser, right? Like, we don't take Fox bodies around here. And now we're like, yeah, but there's S550s everywhere and blah, 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 right? You can go down to your dealership and lease one, whatever. It's like, I know, I really think that we need to take a long look in the mirror here.
The difference, though, I feel is I'd love to know the first 5 years of, say, an Aero Fox coming out. So, say 87 or whatever, 87 through 93. What
Mhm.
was the majority demographic age range that purchased those cars versus same thing with the S550? Because I feel like the S550 is a very diverse crowd. It's almost like you got the old Corvette dude
Mhm.
driving them. You know what I mean? Because they don't want the rickety nuts and bolts that they were used to in a Fox or whatever else, a luxurious upgrade, whatever. Like, yeah, you see some younger guys in them too. And I'm curious if they get along because, you drive an S550, I drive an S550. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Or if there's like a inner weird dynamic in there. Because, like, I could be completely wrong with my assumption, but I feel like everybody who got Fox bodies were probably all within like a 10-year range.
Yeah, I think the only outliers in that crowd that you would have seen were like the specialty cars and like ones like
Mhm.
this,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
$22,000 sticker price verts or whatever. Those were going to, your fresh out of university
Yeah.
doctor or whatever. But
Mhm.
I know what you mean. Yeah, for the most part, I think like this is, you can safely say this is, the Fox body's always been the working man's car, right? Like, everybody's
Yeah.
got a little rough edge to them, like it's whatever.
Yeah.
So I can kind of give a little bit to that. So my dad, so he was 30 years old when I was born. I was born in 89. Um, my dad worked for a Ford dealership the entire era of the 80s and into the early 90s. And he bought a new Fox body like every 2 years, like because he worked at the
Yeah.
dealer. So he would see them come in and he would buy the next one and then buy the next one, and and he'd trade that one in and get another one. He never fully paid any of them ever off because he traded one in for the next. So like you were saying, maybe the aero cars, what was the demographic, back in the 80s when those came out? Well, that was my dad. He was about 30 years old.
Right.
30, between the age of 27 and probably 35. So is that the same age demographic for an S550 car now? Because it always seems like you see, honestly, younger guys than me even in an S550 car, or you see the much older guys, like you just said, the Corvette guys. So where's the 30-year-old at? I guess they're in a rickety Fox body now.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing. Yeah, no, I guess, yeah, you probably put it on as like age 25 to 35 was probably Fox market, generally speaking, unless you had money.
Right.
Or parents bought you, the when you're in high school or you're fortunate enough for college or whatever. Versus, now it'd be like maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. And it's like, and the aftermarket stuff is much different now, I feel too. Like car stereos. Nobody needs to do a car stereo anymore because the stereos are good in new vehicles.
Yeah.
Like the technology is there. This was like the evolution of technology in a Fox body were kind of like independent of one another. So we were always trying to like bring whatever was new and tech in, versus now it's like pre-planned and ready to go.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of bolting stuff on. So like that, I'm sure has a lot to do with it as well.
Well, and so much of it's like damn near unreversible too. Like you're going to take a nav screen out that covers half of your dash. Like where are you going with that? Right.
Like where do you mount the monster tack?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Need a suction cup on the window. Yeah. It's true. And I mean, the other side of this too is I think nowadays, well, maybe this factors into like the bigger grand scheme of things, but it's a hell of a lot more expensive to try to live a life these days. So that demographic of like 30 to like maybe crowding 40, let's say 25 to 35. I mean, those poor fuckers, some of them are still in their mom's basement.
Yeah, they can't even buy a house, let alone a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, they beg, steal, and borrow to like get a house, and maybe they're trying to have a kid or something. Like they don't have hot rods anywhere in their mind, So unless you just walk into the Ford dealership and you sign up for a fucking 8-year lease, I don't know. I got to think like these younger guys, okay, sure, there's a handful of them that like mom and dad silver spooned them and helped them out. But like, I think the rest of them are probably just going in and signing up for that like high interest, long-term lease and, living on credit. They got to be like,
well,
I know what it costs to live
to your point too. Yeah. It's sort of like, like you said, the working man's car was a Fox body, right? Like where middle class was like a big class. And, there's a lot of talks now where the middle class is sort of getting washed away.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably got a lot to do with it as well. Cause it's sort of like, yeah, you're either doing it or like you said, you might look like you're middle class, but if you actually like crunch the numbers, like
you're poverty.
Yeah.
According to my insurance plan, I'm poverty.
Yeah. Yeah, the demographics have changed for sure. I don't know. Well, and the other side of this too, right? Like all of this stuff that we're referencing from the 90s, the big whatever Bondo days and everything else. Like, we didn't have, well, YouTube was in its early stages, if alive at all, right?
Yeah.
Definitely cell phones could call. That's it. No Netflix, no nothing. Like they're just, I don't know. I guess it was more enticing to be busy with your hands doing shit. It's like when we were all kids, like fucking go throw rocks at that stop sign. You know, like,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Like, I remember dialing up, logging on to StangNet, cruising the classifieds, and something is like, oh my God, yeah, set of LX taillights in mint condition. Going, getting a fucking money order, mailing that
Mhm.
shit to some stranger online, and like waiting for these
Months.
taillights to show up and it being the best fucking thing in the world. And now
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like, okay, yeah, order something on LMR. And it's like, motherfuckers, it didn't ship next day. What's going on? Like, really?
Yeah. I know. I can't help but think this every time somebody asks me about the body kit on the coupe. Hey, like, where do you get that? Whatever. And my go-to answer is always like, I literally picked the phone up and I called the Xenon number that was in a magazine and I placed an order. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I did it, you know?
Yeah, someone
Again,
picked
like
up
you
the
said,
phone. There was no call
yeah,
manager.
totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
like somebody went, hello. It wasn't, push one, because fuck, I probably called from something that had a rotary dial fucking thing on it, and like you said about money orders, like, how do you ship money to the States? Like, we didn't have any of these modern day convenience. I mean, I can still remember me and a buddy a few nights ago went out for a beer, and we were at this little like hole in the wall pub, and it was quiet in there, so we were chatting with the server, and I said, hey, I haven't been in here in a long time, but the last time I was in here, your guys's like cell or credit card system went down. And I said there was a young gal working in here, and she had to go and find like the credit card swipe machine where you like put
Carbon
the card
copy.
onto the carbon copy thing. Yeah. And she's like, did you guys really use this? I'm like, yeah, like that's how you paid for shit with a credit card if you were in person.
Mhm.
And I mean, debit cards, you couldn't just tap or scan or whatever. Like, you had to run to the bank machine, and they wouldn't even, all they'd give you was 20s. Like, if you just
Yeah.
needed $5, you had to pull a 20 out of the bank,
Yeah.
you know?
But it was funny
Yeah.
because so when we came home, that storm hit and we lost power. We were talking to me and my wife were talking to our kids about because then we lost. So we got our power back, but then we had no cell service and no internet. It's completely
Right.
wiped out. And I don't have like satellite or cable TV. I run solely on apps. I'm a cheap fuck. I don't pay for satellite
You're
or
in good
anything.
company, bud.
So, like, no Netflix, no Hulu, no Paramount, no Discovery, whatever you're watching. Hell, I couldn't even watch the free channels on my Roku TV because I had no Wi-Fi, So my wife and I were telling our kids, we're like, wow, how did we live way back when with no internet? Like, how are we even doing it now? And we were explaining to our kids that Netflix used to not be as convenient as it is now. I remember having to actually like go online and like ordering DVDs and having them sent to you in the mail. And then you
Yeah.
would get your Netflix DVDs and then you would watch them and then you'd have to send them back and then get more, kind of
Even
deal.
worse. Like, think about TGIF.
Yeah.
And you would have to like rush home and you were making
Yep.
sure you were there for whatever when that show started, or if you were like
Family matters.
if you were
Yeah.
technically advanced enough, you could set like the automatic timer on the VCR.
Yep. And
to
record
start
it.
recording. And then you
Yep.
always fucked something up, and then you got late, and then you missed the damn show, and
Yep.
that was it. You missed it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you gotta wait until the season's over. And back in the day, there was like 30 episodes
Yeah.
a season,
Wait
right?
till
It
the
was
summertime to watch it
yeah,
again.
you'd have to wait until reruns, or you'd hope your buddy took a copy of it or something. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you missed it. That was it. You had to sit and watch the damn commercials. There was no fast forward. There was
Yep.
no membership to get out of them. Like, you were watching pharmaceutical ads or fucking laundry detergent or whatever else it was with everybody else.
Yep.
Adam, we've said this on here a few times. One of the biggest heartbreakers for us is like there's parts of me that like doesn't miss going to Blockbuster, but
Yeah.
there's probably more of me that does, because like
Yeah.
going there with, you know, a gal and whatever, just that whole experience of, oh, all the new releases are out. Oh shit, you know, we didn't come early enough or whatever. What are we gonna watch? Titanic's 3 hours. Hopefully she'll blow me on the couch. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like there was a process to like
Right.
doing the Blockbuster event, right?
Yeah.
My kids don't even know what Blockbuster means,
No.
nor will they ever.
Man,
You know?
and that's a weird thing too, right? Like, if you think about the amount of time you really have available, because, like, to your point, it's like, how did we do it? Because, like, yeah, you could call someone if they didn't answer, you'd just show up at their house, or you'd go to the spots where you think that they are, because, like, cell phones weren't around, or you weren't SMSing, or yeah, you'd take your date, you do dinner, and then you go to Blockbuster and you do the whole thing. And yeah, it was all part of the experience. Like, now it's pretty much like, hey, you want to come back to my place and, you know, watch Netflix? Fuck.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah.
pretty much to the extent. There's no, you know what I mean, romance around it. Well, not that Blockbuster was romantic, but like, to your
Right.
It
point,
kind of
the
was though,
experience.
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you get a
Well, that's-
fucking couple of pops and whatever, right?
I mean,
You hang
even
out tonight.
I'll even go back to just even going to like the movie theater. Like you can rent a brand new movie on your TV now, essentially. You don't even have to go to the theater and watch it. And I remember, you know, that was like the big thing on like the Friday night after school, you know, high school, you got your license. You know, I took my girlfriend, wife now, and we would go out to the movie theater, you know, get our popcorn, you know, go with some friends or whatever. I don't know if kids even do that, you know, not now.
No.
Are they even making good movies these days?
No.
Like, there's
No.
nothing worth wanting to. And going to the movies can actually be a really good experience now. Like, we got these brew house theaters, and they'll bring
Yeah.
you like proper meals, and you're drinking beer, and it's like VIP lazy boy style sofas. Like, I'd love to go if there was a movie worth watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last time, you know what I mean? Like, I think it was like got to a point where there was the annual Fast and Furious until they just
Yep.
got so bad that it's like, I don't even want to go and watch that at the theater anymore. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's another issue. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the last movie I seen, and I only went because my daughter wanted to see it, was that Twisters movie, the newest
Mhm.
Twisters movie. And we went to the theater in the town that I live in, and it's a like a little hole in the wall family, because the town I live in is very small, and everything is family owned in this town. And it's a old theater with one screen, and the tickets and concession are all in one room, you know, right in front of the screen, essentially, you know, where the seats are, and it's like $6 a ticket.
Nice.
And I'm like, you know what? I'll go there. I'm supporting local, and it's cheap. I'm not
Yep.
spending, you know, $150 for everyone's tickets and concession, you know, stuff. So I think I can get out of that one spending like $50, you know, total for tickets and candy and pop and popcorn. And it's the only
Totally.
reason I'll do it, because I'm cheap.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a good experience though. And again, like,
Yeah.
I remember, man, you like going to the movies was a thing. It was like going, you hung out at the mall, did nothing. You know what I mean? And then like we're just waiting to go to the movies. Hopefully, you know, the girls from school
Yep.
or some shit would show up, and you know what I mean? You'd randomly run in, or it's like you overheard that they're gonna be there. So you try and like, it was like when stalking was okay, sort of. Like, you weren't stalking, but like, you were pre-planning strategically based on the
Yeah.
information you knew, right?
Yeah.
Recon.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I remember those days.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Completely different now. I'd be curious. Well, Gary, you're almost there. You're probably going to hear some weird stories on, you know, how the daughters get approached and what happens. Like,
It's true,
You're
man. Actually, okay, that actually reminded me of something I want to throw in there. Like, you know, gone are the days, I think for most people anyway, at least anyone my age that I know that has like parted ways with their better half or maybe is still somehow out there floating around in the single world, like it's all app based. And
Yeah.
this buddy of mine that I was out for a beer with the other night that we were talking about the whole credit card thing, he was telling me about this because he's recently split ways with his bird, and he's like, it's such a weird world, Gare. Like, he goes, don't get me wrong, there was parts of it initially where you're like, holy shit, is this easy, right? But he's reached a point with it now where he's just like there's nothing special to it, and it's like just rinse and repeat. He goes, it's the same thing every time, like, hey, how are you? And you've already kind of like pre-qualified each other based off of physical attributes, right? And then he goes, one of two things happens after that. Either you have some sort of video call with them or you meet them in person. And he goes, either way, it's awkward though, because you've never spoken with this person in your life. And then it's like, so do you like stuff? Like, he goes, it's just this awkward, like, you don't even know what to say, right? Like, where do you start? And like that versus the times that we grew up, right? Where it's like, we all laugh and joke about how it's maybe cheaper to date now because you don't got to spend $1,000 buying every bird in the bar a drink. But those were at least like face-to-face, meaningful, like interactions, whereas now it's just all virtual.
Well, I think that's the thing, like the face to face, you know what I mean? You could really narrow things down quite quickly versus the virtual thing. Yeah, it's just that initial. It's like you're going through that many more pre-qualifiers, whereas like if they could all just be in the same room,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You wouldn't have to waste any of that time or energy swiping, texting the same basic, like, fuck. That's why like AI is pretty much like all those bots that they're saying that are on these dating sites that aren't even real people just to drive numbers up and give
Yep.
people hope and take their money. Like, it's sad.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he did say, and I mean, this is a whole podcast in itself, but he goes like, Gary's like the this is a weird way of saying it, but like the quality of depth, like meaning like not a lot of depth out there, he goes, is fucking scary. He goes like, it's just, I don't even know. And now he's I don't know, I would quantify him as like proper fella, you know what I mean? Whatever, got his shit together. And he goes like, outside of this bird that I'm sitting across the table from being like rock solid gorgeous, he's like, she's a fucking idiot. Like, I don't even know, other than a quick rattle, like, what are we doing here? So I don't know. The world's going to hell, boys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, on that note,
yeah.
okay, we got to think of something good to finish on. I guess.
Okay.
Well, let's revisit / celebrate the fact that Adam's going out on his own, buddy. I'm very, very excited for you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Man,
It'll
I
be
hate
fun.
that you're so far away because like, man, I could keep you busy full time.
Yeah. Well, it kind of sucks because when you had mentioned you needed frame rails in a car that was in Canada, I was thinking, man, ship the car to me, man. I'll put the frame rails in it. But it was still pretty far from even where I'm at, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I could get it to Windsor easy enough, but I think I'm just abandoning that one
yeah.
for this other Coyote Swap vert that I got sitting here. So,
Yeah.
but
There's nothing wrong with that. Oh,
with that said, man, oh, go
what's
ahead.
that?
I was
I
gonna
was gonna
say,
say,
regardless of your distance, man, you never know because
yeah.
cars are
Yeah.
all
Well, it
over.
doesn't stop some people. I still get stuff from out of state.
Yeah.
So, speaking of something, and this kind of ties into I think the younger generation, going back to something we were talking about, the younger generation getting involved in the cars. One show that I've gone to, and this will segue into that white car back there, Radwood.
Oh yeah.
That has everybody at it. And I went to 2 Radwood events in Detroit, once with the T-Bird and once with the Taurus back there. And you see everyone of all ages, and it is very cool to see younger people than myself interested in an 80s and 90s car.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, they're dressed in all the garb. They're wearing all the, they're wearing everything. They got, the big boom box sitting on their 1987 Cavalier Z24. I mean,
Nice.
it's cool as shit. So, I mean, kind of segueing into, that I was going to say that when we were talking about the, the different
That's
ages.
a good point. 'Cause I've done 2 in Austin here, and
Yeah.
I was going to bring my BMWs, my E36, my E39 this year, but they actually just postponed the event. So, but yeah, no, it's cool when people like get dressed up and you see all the old kid and the mullets and whatever. It's
Oh yeah.
it's cool.
Oh yeah. I was rocking a mullet the last 2 years. I just cut it off before pits.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I had to look, super trashy in my trashy car. No, that was the point. So,
Yeah.
but no, yeah, I went to Radwood the first time I went. I took the T-Bird. I actually won the Rad Model Award into Detroit for that one with the T-Bird, which I thought was pretty sweet. It wasn't expecting it. Never knew anything about it, and then went last year and I took the Taurus show. So
Yeah.
and that's my Radwood car now. I've got it on coilovers, the eBay coilovers, all lowered down because they don't make anything for Tauruses. So
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah.
Oh.
My buddy had one of those. So he was kind of one of the first of us to have kids, and it was actually like probably in the earlier stages, like he probably screwed up a little bit. But anyway, it's funny now because actually his son, he and I text all the time, him and his kid, just a beauty guy. Anyway, I'll never forget my buddy Pete. He gets this it was like an emerald green SHO, and his little guy Cade, somehow he cross-threaded Taurus and Tornass, and he'd call it a Tornass all the time. There was a story, I'll fuck it up, I'll have to ask him about it, but he was telling his teacher at one point in time that his dad drives a Tornass. He's like, he drives a what?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's cool, man. I want to go to one of those Radwood events because I think that it's a generation. I'm sure every single generation can say this about the generation they came from, but like the 90s was not one that I really seen sticking. I can still remember when like Sirius XM came out and having like the channels, you could listen like the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, the 70s. And I'll be fucked if like the little radio I got in the shop, it's a satellite radio and it's fucking glued to the 90s on 9. Like literally, radio stations that rock it. So it's cool, man. And the fact that we're sitting here reminiscing about it, like how wicked is that,
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, there's your positive note, Gary.
Yeah, no, that's
Here's
my positive note.
Okay.
Yeah, 90s on 9. Go listen. Actually, listen to the pod first, then listen to 90s on 9. No, but Adam, I'm happy for you, brother. It was unreal to see you down there in person, and I hope we can do it again real soon, bud. And we'll put all your intel like down in the description of the pod and stuff. So I guess you'll be looking for employees in the very near future. Obviously, always looking for good work.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, man, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. I appreciate it, guys. Man. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Okay. Thanks for listening, folks. Have yourself a good night.